Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Hiruzen trained Naruto to honor Minato dying wish part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. As the longest, darkest night in Konohagakure's history came to an end, a flash was seen as a massive 50-meter tall fox suddenly disappeared. Near the site of the disappearance, a blond man in a shredded white haori can be seen lying next to a beautiful, motionless reed. In his arms, a blond baby boy with 3 whisker marks on each cheek was sleeping peacefully. As the barrier around the ritual site faded, Hiruzen Sarutobi, the third Hokage of Konohagakure no Sado, approached the downed couple. "Minato, what happened to the Kyuubi? Are you okay, my boy?" asked the previous Hokage. "Hiruzen, I don't have much time left. This is my son, Naruto. I sealed the Kyuubi in him with the Reaper Death Seal. Please, keep him safe. Raise him with love and help him carry his burdens." "Oh, my boy. Why didn't you ask me to use that seal? The village still needs you," cried a dejected Hiruzen. Each member of the Anbu detail could be seen shaking with tears pouring out from below their masks. One silver-haired Anbu was on his knees, wailing openly and crying, "Sensei, sensei, please don't go. Not you too, sensei. Kakashi, don't cry for me. I protected my village and my son. He is going to need you, Kakashi. Be strong for him, help him, and when the time comes teach him. As I loved you as my own son, I ask you to love him." In between sobs, the now-known Kakashi swore an oath to the heavens, "I swear, sensei, I will do as you ask." Minato looked back to Hiruzen. "Hiruzen, I am fading. Please, old man, fight for my son. Protect him. A lot of hate will be aimed at him from inside and outside the village. He should be seen as a hero. Please, old man, protect him. Rely on my and Kushina's friends. I have faith in them." With the last of his willpower, Minato rolls back on his side and embraces Kushina. With a final kiss to her lips, Minato's soul is finally pulled into the stomach of the Shinigami. As the shock faded, Hiruzen stumbles over to the baby swaddled in Minato's arms and picks him up. "Dog, Saru, please secure Lord Fourth and Lady Kushina. Everything you saw here is an S-rank secret that is not to be spoken of. Take them to the tower and secures their bodies." Later in the council room, Hiruzen enters the council chamber still holding Naruto to see all his clan heads assembled on his left. Their clothes are dirty, singed and clearly displaying signs of the battle that just drew to a close. He nods his head to the clan heads as an incessant racket draws his attention to the other side of the room. On the right, the civilian council is present. It should be noted that they are all in their fine dress that is perfectly clean. After all, they were all escorted to their bunkers early in the battle. As soon as they notice the third Hokage, the noise starts to fade. To the rear of the Hokage chair, 3 older people can be seen. These are the village elders. Homura Mitokado, genin teammate of Hiruzen, is an old man with a long face, glasses, a grey chin-wrap beard and wild grey hair. Kaharu Udatane, also a genin teammate of Hiruzen, is an old woman with narrowed downcast eyes and a permanent frown. Finally, is Danzo Shimura, longtime rival of Hiruzen. He has jet black hair and an X-shaped scar over his chin. However, his most defining feature is the bandages wrapped over half of his face, covering his right eye. He also has his right arm bandaged and in a sling. As Hiruzen takes in the panicked and distressed looks of his council, he knows he is in for a long night. As he takes his seat, he draws in a deep breath and says, "Alright, let's get this council meeting started." Immediately, cries ring out from the civilian side of the council. Each shout drowning out the next. As the noise escalates, a pineapple-haired clan head raises his head off the table and in a voice few have ever heard yells, "Troublesome. One at a time. This isn't the fucking school cafeteria." As the rest of the noise dies out, the newly appointed civilian representative, Mibuyuki Haruno, a pink-haired woman in her early to mid-20s says, "Lord Third, what happened to Minato-kun?" Hiruzen replies, "Please, Mibuyuki, sit down. There is a lot I must cover with the council. Please hold all questions until I am done speaking." The civilian representative sits with a sour look on her face at being dismissed, but listens in as Hiruzen recounts the events of the night to the council. As Hiruzen's story comes to a close, he broke the bad news. Minato-kun and Kushina-chan are dead. They died defeating the Kyuubi, and they have left their son in the care of Jiraiya and Kakashi Haddock. At this, the clan heads all shifted and their heads swiveled. Finally, Hiashi Hyuga speaks up, "Lord Third, are you saying that boy there is Minato and Kushina's child?" "Yes, Hiashi. This is Naruto, the heir of the Namakas and Uzumaki clans." The Hyuga head replies, "Lord Third, Minato and Kushina were dear friends of the clan and Hitomi-chan. Naruto should be raised in a set household, not in the care of Lord Jiraiya and a teenage boy." This riled up the clan heads, many proclaiming their friendship to Minato and saying they would also like to raise the boy. After a minute, Hiruzen called for silence and said, Hayashi, I appreciate your friendship with Minato, but I cannot show favoritism to one clan. Young Naruto was bequeathed to Jiraiya and the Hayashi bowed his head and sat back down. This led to a pregnant pause which was once again broken by Mabuki Haruno, Lord Third, what happened to the Kyuubi? After taking a deep breath, Hiruzen says Minato sealed the Kyuubi into young Naruto using the Reaper Death Seal. Before you start shouting to kill the demon, I would like to demonstrate something for the civilian side of the council. He pulls out a scroll and a kunai. He asks Mabuki in a patronizing tone, Mabuki, can you please tell me what I hold in each hand? She replies with a scroll and a kunai, Lord Third. Precisely he replies while sealing the kunai into the scroll. Now Mabuki, what do I hold in my hand? The scroll, Lord Third. A small smile flitters upon the wizened visage of Hiruzen. Ah, I am so happy you see it that way. I wanted to make this clear. Young Naruto is not the Kyuubi. He is the prison into which the demon is sealed. If this young man is killed, the demon will be released and will once again imperil our village. A male civilian counselor stands up and shouts, no, Lord Third. That thing is a demon. It should be killed here and now so we can finally be rid of it. After that outrageous statement, Hiruzen made a motion with his hand and the dog mask Anbu appeared behind the civilian counselor. With a swift stroke of his wakizashi, he removed the man's head and let it roll to the ground. The silence was broken as blood sloshed out from the man's neck and made a sickening, squelching sound. Two Anbu descended and picked up the remains. Hiruzen took this as his cue to issue a warning. My fellow council, listen up because I will not repeat this. This silence in between his sentences was deafening as the man radiated a killing aura that caught the attention of shinobi and civilians alike. Naruto is under my protection. I swore to Minato as his final wish that the boy would grow up safe in a village that will see him as the hero he is. As his eyes swept the room, many of the civilian council looked down, not meeting his eyes. The shinobi met his gaze proudly, with slight nods of their heads, confirming that they were with their newly reinstated Hokage. Behind Hiruzen, Danzo made a slight shift and narrowing of his eyes. Let me close this meeting, it has been a long night and all of us have family and clans to check on. I will be relying on each of you to fill out damage reports, prioritize key infrastructure and needs. We will need to work together to rebuild our beloved village and protect it. Fugaku and Hiashi, please stay. As the council room emptied, Fugaku and Hiashi stood to attention and saluted. Hiruzen returned the salute and motioned them to sit. Fugaku, with over a third of the western village destroyed and the wall collapsed, I will need the police now more than ever. I also ask you, Hiashi, to provide support to the Uchiha until our defenses have restabilized. Fugaku begins to reply with, Lord Third, the Uchiha can. Enough Fugaku. Your rivalry be damned. Every man and woman that can help rebuild and protect the village is needed now. I ask you to work with Hiashi to make sure our village is secured. Yes Lord Third. Says Fugaku with his head bowed. It will be done. States Hiashi with his typical unreadable impression. Thank you. Now I know both of you will want to help with young Naruto-kun. I will invite you to a meeting to discuss his future once this madness has settled. In the meantime, he will stay at the Sarutobi compound. As the two leave the room, Hiruzen sighs and takes out his pipe from his robes. He lights it up and takes a deep drag as he looks down on the infant in the makeshift cradle. I promise, Minato and Kushina. Your sacrifice will not be in vain. 2 weeks later in the Hokage office, Hiruzen sits down in his leather chair behind the Hokage desk with Naruto laying in a cradle beside his desk. His visage peeks through stacks of paperwork as he looks out over those in attendance. The three elders were seated on the right side of the room with Hiashi and Fugaku seated on the couch in front of his desk. On the back wall, a massive middle-aged man with long, spiky white hair and a hishiate with the kanji for oil inscribed on it. He is wearing a red overshirt with a grey undershirt, metal arm bracers and grey pants finished with wooden Jetta sandals. This is one of the legendary Sannin, Lord Jiraiya of Mount Myoboku. To his right is a beautiful woman who appears to be in her mid-20s that has beautiful honey eyes with a purple diamond in the middle of her forehead. The green overcoat opens to reveal a white shirt that provides just enough cleavage to make all men struggle to keep their eyes up. She is leaning against the wall with an impassive expression on her face and her arms crossed across her ample chest. After summarizing the events of October 10th for the Sannin and getting a report from Fugaku on village security and the progress of the wall rebuilding, Hiruzen addresses the room. Thank you for your help over these past 2 weeks. Much has been done and there is much to do. Tsunade and Jiraiya, thank you for returning to the village on such short notice. I wish it were on better terms. Jiraiya gets a goofy grin on his face and says, sure thing, sensei. After that, his face turns serious and he says, now, can we talk about my student's child, please? Yes, Jiraiya, I was getting to that. Minato and Kushina left young Naruto to your primary custody, Jiraiya. He also asked Hada Kakashi to assist in raising the boy. Sensei, I know why Minato gave me that responsibility, but I cannot possibly accept. I have my duties outside the village, not to mention my spy network. With Konoha in this state, it is more important than ever that we stay ahead of the threats. Tsunade makes a TSK sound and snaps her head away from Jiraiya in disgust. The pain she feels just from being in this god-forsaken village has her at her wit's end. Now she must put up with her perverted ex-teammate. Unbelievable. Danzo cuts in before anyone can respond. I agree with Jiraiya. We cannot recall him to the village at this time. His intel has been instrumental in preventing many threats to Konoha. I ask that the child be put in my care, where I can train it properly. All faces in the room hardened as Hiruzen steps in. Danzo, I know that the roots of the great tree need to be kept, but if I hear you refer to young Naruto in that way again, I will be finding a new groundskeeper. He takes a drag on his pipe and exhales. This child is to be raised in the light, with the help of the people in this room. Hiashi and Fugaku made an almost imperceptible shift and looked on excitedly. He continues, my plan is to have Naruto raised on the Namikaze estate. I have already assigned Tsubaki Sarutobi, a wet nurse and caretaker of the Sarutobi clan, to raise Naruto in his family home. As you all know, his existence as of now is only known to the council and is an S-class secret along with his Jinchuriki status. After taking a deep breath and another drag, he continues, I plan on the child's formative years being hidden in the Namikaze estate. Once he is old enough, each person in this room will be able to take part in his development and training. Yes, before you ask, even you Danzo. He chuckles and finishes with, you have many good things to teach, old friend. When the time is right, I will let you teach young Naruto and help form him into the shinobi we all know he can be. After an admittedly stunned silence, Tsunade says, Sensei, I will stay until his first birthday. After that, I am out. The pain this village brings me is too great, but I owe Kushina at least that much. The hair chimes in, Hiruzen, you know how I feel about that child. I will not be around it any more than need be. I want no part of that boy, he is a ticking time bomb. Jiraiya leans forward off the wall as he lets loose a sizable amount killing intent, enough to make the elders struggle under the weight of it. I know Sensei made this clear for his part, but let me enlighten you. Naruto is under my protection. Whether I am in the village or not. If anything happens to the child, I will hold each person in this room personally responsible. He lets off a bit on the Kai and continues, I have inspected the Shiki Fuin seal, and I will say that it is the strongest and most intricate seal ever placed on any of the Jinchuriki. Not only will the seal lock the Kyuubi into Naruto, but the seal will also convert the Kyuubi's chakra bit by bit into Naruto's own chakra pool and reserves. If you don't believe me, ask Hiashi. Every eye in the room turned to the startled Hyuga. He activated his Dijutsu and scanned Naruto, it is as Jiraiya says. Around the seal, I see small fragments of red chakra circling through the seal and turning into the natural blue chakra that we all have. Naruto's chakra does have a deeper blue look to it, but I think that is because of its potency. Another note, Naruto's own chakra reserves at 2 weeks old are already equal to most academy students. A gasp flittered through the room and a gleam appeared in Danzo's eyes. This could be the greatest weapon in the entire elemental nations. I need to have this child, but Hiruzen would never allow it. I cannot believe the fire that has returned to his eyes. If I cross him, I will not survive the fallout. For now, I will try to get access to the child so I may observe firsthand, thought Danzo. Danzo looks at the Hokage and asks, Hokage-sama, what is the plan for the child? Surely, he will need to become a ninja to learn to control the Kyuubi. If he doesn't learn control, the beast could take advantage of that and escape. Hiruzen looks at Danzo then at each of the others around the room. I plan on Tsubaki raising Naruto in secrecy until he is ready to become a shinobi. I will give each person in this room access to the Namikaze compound so that you may each visit Naruto. I would hope that with the right guidance, we can instill the will of fire into young Naruto and secure Minato's legacy and the future of our village. Tsunade chimes in, Sensei, Kushina would have wanted Naruto to have a normal childhood with friends, unburdened by the darkness of shinobi. I know, Tsunade, but no matter how you look at it, Naruto is not normal. Furthermore, if his existence is made known, then we will have assassins from Kumo and Iwa looking to finish off Minato's legacy. Those grudges run deep. If we can keep him safe on the Namikaze estate until young Naruto starts at the academy, then we will have a much better chance of keeping Kumo and Iwa off his trail. At this point, Hiashi steps in, Lord Third, what if the child is raised under the name Uzumaki, and then when the time is right and the child is strong enough, we can announce his heritage. This would allow us to bring Naruto into the public and possibly create friendships with the other clan children. He will be watched and protected by the shinobi families while creating bonds that tie him to the village. That is an interesting idea. Kushina had her fair share of enemies as well though, and the Uzumaki name may still attract the attention of Kumo. Jiraiya decides to put in his 2 cents. Sensei, I will be able to stay ahead of any of that. We can provide a better life to Naruto. Furthermore, if we play the Uzumaki name off as a common orphan's name, then that would allow Naruto to be raised normally. We would of course tell him about his heritage, along with the trusted few clan heads who are loyal to Minato. This would keep his self-identity intact and protect him as much as possible. That is an interesting idea, Jiraiya. If the Uzumaki name reaches Kumo, I expect you to do some counterintelligence work and make sure they believe the orphan story. I believe that is all for this meeting. Please return to your duties and aid with the village recovery. 3.5 years later, 3 years passed in a flash for Naruto, Tsubaki and surprisingly, Tsunade. The vibrant ball of energy had brought so much light to every person he met. Tsubaki and Tsunade had started teaching Naruto to read after he complained that he couldn't understand of his 2chan's books a year ago. Naruto struggled to learn, but what 2.5-year-old wouldn't? Now, Naruto is often seen carrying around a wooden kunai and reading books like Intro to Fuinjutsu by Uzumaki Mido and The Coolest Battles of Shinobi History by Rimuru Satoru for his 3rd birthday. Jiraiya had given Naruto the tale of the Gutsy Ninja, which inspired Naruto to profess himself a ninja and ask for a kunai. The next time Jiraiya showed up, he gave Naruto a box of wooden kunai. Aside from his reading, Naruto loved spending time outside on the training grounds of the Namikaze estate with his bachan Tsunade. After the first year, Tsunade had decided that she would give life in Konoha one more chance. Her attachment to the hyperactive toddler only grew and earned smiles, laughs and guffaws from all those that witnessed the unique relationship. Jiraiya and Hiruzen were ecstatic to see the light return to Tsunade's honeysuckle eyes and a smile to return to her face. The time she spent with her brat was filled with laughter, Naruto playing shinobi and Aunt Shizune, trying to keep Tsunade from throwing Naruto over the Hokage mountain. After a year or so, Tsunade decided to return to Konoha Hospital when she wasn't spending time with her last living relative. She was appalled to find out how much the standard of care had fallen. She then got the 3rd Hokage to approve remedial training for all certified nurses and doctors at the hospital. She led the physical and medical retraining and became feared for her quick temper whenever she saw a negligent mistake. One day, she brought Naruto to a training session and introduced him as Naruto Uzumaki. The little blondie was running around in between groups of medics who were practicing their aerial ninjutsu. He would fake his own injury and yell for the medics. Somehow, he found the fake blood packs and was covered in the fake blood. The medics fell in love with a little blonde ball of sunshine and started treating his wounds. Tsunade walked up to a group of female medics and doctors, cooing over what looked like a mummified bundle of bandages. The only indicator that it was Naruto was the blonde hair that was peeking out over the tops of the bandages. The mummy training incident incited the hospital staff to nominate Naruto as their mascot. This, in turn, was how Naruto fell in love with training. He started showing up regularly for the morning workouts. Shizune, now officially confirmed as Tsunade's apprentice, would walk him through basic physical exercises. His endless energy basically guaranteed that Shizune was the one that left training tired. Once Shizune was tired out, Naruto encouraged the other medical personnel to help them finish their workouts. This was the brilliant start to Naruto's public persona. Today, Naruto was extra excited because he was invited to a birthday party for the first time. Despite Naruto getting to meet Jiraiya, Tsunade, Hokage Jiji, the weird old mummy guy, Hiashi and Fugaku, he has yet to meet and play with anyone his age. That is why today was an ultra special, super important occasion to Naruto, and he was pestering Tsubaki and Tsunade to make sure everything was perfect. Okay, Bachan. I have these nice clothes, a present and I think I know what to say to Hiashi-sama when I get there. Am I forgetting anything? What do you say to Hiashi-sama when he greets you? Asked Tsunade with a coy smile and light in her eyes. Good afternoon Hyuga-sama, I am grateful for your invitation. Replied a self-assured Naruto. Good, and then what do you do with the gift? I give them gift to Hiashi-sama and say that this is a gift to celebrate Hinata-sen's 3rd birthday. Answered a slightly less confident knucklehead. That will do. Just have fun Naruto and make some friends your age. Alright, let's get going said Tsunade as she shuffled the youngster out of the house and compound. Walking through the village, many of the villagers would point at Tsunade and ask things like is that Tsunade-sama's child? This made Tsunade remember her little brother Naoki, whom Naruto reminded her so much of. Naruto looked up and noticed Tsunade's slight frown and asked her, what's wrong Bachan? Tsunade shook off her thoughts and Naruto's question and simply answered him with a smile and ruffle of the hair. After all the looks, greetings and whispers Tsunade was glad to arrive at the Hyuga compound. The 2 gate guards noticed Tsunade walking up and rushed off to get Hiashi. As they walked through the gate, they saw Hiashi and Hitomi waiting for them. Hitomi was a beautiful woman with dark blue-black hair and pale white eyes that had a lavender tint to them. She was teammates with Kushina, and as soon as Hiashi had told her about Naruto, she had been waiting to meet her friend's hidden son. She smiled as she saw the young blonde approach. Naruto walked up with a laughably rigged posture and said, good afternoon, Hyuga-sama. I brought a gift for Hinata-chan's birthday. Dadabeo. The Ashi cocked an eyebrow at the youngster. Which for a Hyuga was the equivalent to a hearty laugh and smack on the back by an Akimichi. The vibrant nature of his greetings stood in stark contrast to the typical Hyuga etiquette. After he Ashi composed himself, he returned the greeting by bowing his head slightly to Tsunade. Good evening, Tsunade-sama and Uzumaki-san. I am grateful you could join us to commemorate Hinata's 3rd birthday. Truth be told, Hiashi wasn't one to throw a party for such a paltry reason, but Hitomi had been bothering him about getting to meet Naruto, and this was as good an excuse as any. I apologize but I have to head to the Hokage Tower. The delegate from Kumo will be wrapping up with the signing of the treaty, and we have agreed to house him as a show of good faith. Tsunade waved him off and said, I am surprised you would let him stay here. Have a safe trip and we can share some sake when you get back. As Hiashi walked out of the compound with his brother and personal guard, Hitomi ushered the duo into the compound's courtyard, where laughing and talking could be heard from the front gate. Naruto noticed how big and fancy the Hyuga compound was compared to his parents' house. It was modeled after an old Japanese architecture that was simple, yet elegant. As he approached the courtyard with Tsunade just a step behind him, Naruto spotted the birthday girl. She was a small little thing with dark blue hair cut in a Heim-style, mousy face and a small build. She was wearing a formal lavender kimono that made her look like a proper little noble toddler. Naruto walked up to her and kicked off the conversation with a gigawatt smile. Good evening Hinata-san. My name is Uzumaki Naruto. Thanks for inviting me to your birthday party. I brought a present for you. The girl was stunned by his outgoing behavior and immediately blushed, looked down to the ground, and kept touching her index fingers together. After a moment, she looked up slightly and replied with, thank you for coming to celebrate my birthday. It is nice to meet you Uzumaki-san. My name is Hyuga Hinata. Please put your present over there with the others. She pointed to a pile of presents and smiled shyly. She was then pulled away from the conversation by another Hyuga that looked slightly older than her and had a much more rigid posture and face. After Tsunade took Naruto to get some food, they sat down at a table with a man with 2 diagonal scars on the right side of his face that had his hair done up in a spiky ponytail. He was sitting next to a similar and smaller version of himself. They both had an extremely lackadaisical posture that seemed to say, please don't be too troublesome. As Naruto sat down, the older of the two perked up and met eyes with Tsunade. Their silent conversation confirmed that this was Minato's son, whom Shukaku had been waiting eagerly to meet. He was the 4th Hokage's Jonin commander and was very close to Minato and Kushina. In fact, he was one of the only people that knew when and where they were going to have the baby. The events of that night had plagued his nightmares. There was just a piece of that puzzle that Shukaku couldn't figure out. They had taken so many precautions, how did it all go wrong? Shukaku was pulled from his reflections by the loud and proud greeting of Naruto. Shukaku put on a smile and answered the vibrant blonde with, good evening, Naruto, my name is Shukaku Nara and this is my son Shikamaru. Shikamaru had noticed his dad perk up and the immediate drift of his father's train of thought. He looked to his dad and then offered his hand to Naruto. The two sat next to each other and talked while Naruto ate. Let it be known that all Tsubaki's attempts to teach Naruto table manners had not yet taken effect. After Naruto finished eating, he and Shikamaru went off to play with a group of kids. As the evening progressed, Naruto had met a bunch of the clan head's children, not that he knew they were clan heirs. His vibrant nature and boisterous personality rapidly got him nominated as the leader of the group's games. They played ninja, tag, hide and seek, and even a ninja game that involved the kids trying to throw wooden kunai through holes of different sizes. During these games, he met Ino Yamanaka, Choji Akimichi and a feral-looking boy named Kiba. Eventually, Hinata and Niji had come and joined the group to play. The adults had been looking on with smiles on their faces. Tsunade, with sake in hand, wore a proud smile and a wistful look in her eyes. A group of 3 males stood casually next to each other while watching the children play. In this group was Shukaku and his friends Chauza Akimichi and Inoichi Yamanaka. Chauza is a big burly man with long red and spiky hair. He towered over his 2 friends as he wore a formal black kimono with the Akimichi clan crest emblazoned over his heart and on his back. Inoichi Yamanaka is a slender man with a narrow face, emerald eyes and sandy blonde hair. He had a faraway look in his eyes as he watched the children. Inoichi broke the comfortable silence with, he is a natural leader, just like Minato. Chauza chuckled and drank some of his beer, indeed he is. He is the spitting image of Minato. Although I see a bit of Kushina in him. Especially in that wild personality of his. Shukaku chimed in with, maybe more than a little bit of her personality. I think it may get to be a bit troublesome. The group turned as they heard a full-blown feminine laugh from behind them. They turned and greeted Tsunade who simply nodded and said, you have no idea. They continued a friendly conversation while watching the children's antics. As the evening drew to a close, Hitomi had invited Naruto to stay the night. She said that Naruto could stay in Hinata's room. Niji would be there as well so nothing untoward would happen. Come on, who could ever think about 2-3-year-olds doing anything of that nature? Formalities be damned, she couldn't get enough of Naruto and the effect he was having on Hinata. After Hinata's initial wave of anxiety, the blonde had done more to get her out of her shell in 4 hours than the whole Hyuga clan had done in 3 years. A drunken Tsunade had accepted her offer and headed back to the Namikaze estate to let Tsubaki know. They had bathed the kids and placed them in Hinata's room with some extra futons. The kids had fallen asleep almost immediately. As the whole estate went to sleep, aside from the patrols, Naruto's dreams began taking an ominous turn. He started to roll and shift around on his mat until he woke up and went to look for some water. As he was returning from the bathroom, he noticed that Hinata's door was open. He couldn't shake the ominous feeling from earlier, so he was on guard. He reached in his pocket and pulled out his wooden kunai and creeped to the door. When he entered, he saw a man in all black tying up Hinata and Neji slumped against the wall, bleeding from his head. After a moment's panic, Naruto screamed as loud as he could, "Get away from Hinata-chan." As he screamed, his eyes flickered red and he jumped at the startled intruder. The man would regret not taking him seriously as a wooden kunai ended up lodged in his eye. The man then grabbed Naruto and said, "Die brat. Damn you." He chucked Naruto through 2 walls into the Hyuga's courtyard where he slammed into the fountain and passed out with blood coming from his head. The man then grabbed Hinata and began to run but was surrounded by a group of Hyuga guards and Hiashi. Hayashi scowled and stated in an ice-cold tone, "You will put my daughter down and come with us or your life is forfeit." As he finished saying this, Hitomi slid through the group of guards with the speed and grace of water and then began to strike the man rapidly from his blind spot. 8 trigrams protection of the 64 palms, she intoned with an icy chill as the man began to crumple to the ground. The girdle he was carrying over his left shoulder had stopped him from reacting in time. As he fell, he dropped the struggling Hinata. He lay face down in the dirt, in too much pain for him to use the suicide syringe he had brought for this exact reason. He began struggling with his tongue to get to the cyanide capsule he had lodged in one of his teeth. Hiashi, with his Byakugan activated, saw this, dashed to the man and flipped him over. He paralyzed the man's jaw, forced his mouth open and removed the capsule. He pointed to 2 of his guards and told them to take this man to T&I. He pointed to his brother, Hisashi, and another branch member and had them go tell the Hokage. It was at this point that Hitomi processed Naruto's crumpled form on the fountain. She cried out in fear as she sprinted over to Naruto's body. The scream also drew Hiashi's attention and he sent another Hyuga to go and informed Tsunade that they would be taking Naruto to the hospital. Hiashi gently pushed aside his wife and daughter that were kneeling over an unconscious Naruto and scooped him up. His heart was overflowing with gratitude and apprehension as he raced across the rooftops with an unconscious Naruto. Aftermath of Hyuga incident, Naruto woke up with a massive headache feeling like his whole body was aching. He tried moving his left arm but was unable to. Something big, soft and attached to something heavier was stopping him from moving. As he opened his eyes and cleared his blurry vision, he saw his Bachan was slumped over the bed with his arm secured between her 2 voluminous mounds. He looked over and saw the flowers and get well cards from the Hyugas and medical staff. The sun was beginning to light up the village and peek through the curtains. He noticed that Tsunade was beginning to stir thanks to his movement and the beam of sunlight that found its way into her eyes. As she came to, she cleared the saliva from her chin and began to cry as her eyes met Naruto's. Naruto freed his arm and patted her head. "It's okay, Bachan. I'm okay." She cleared her tears and her honeysuckle eyes shimmered as the light bounced off the wet orbs. "You scared me, brat. You were out for a whole day." After a bit, Naruto asked about Hinata. Tsunade smiled and said, "She is fine, little hero. You saved her." Naruto's gigawatt smile lit up the room and he let out a deep breath. A nurse popped into the room and saw this. She waved over the rest of the nurses on the floor. Tsunade turned around and noticed 6 nurses peeking through the door at the heartwarming scene. "What are you looking at? Get to it." Tsunade playfully yelled as the nurse began her checkup and the rest of them scattered. After scanning Naruto with a diagnostic jutsu, the nurse couldn't believe it. Yesterday, Naruto had 3 broken ribs, a broken arm, a cracked vertebrae and a concussion. Now, aside from some residual injuries, the kid was fine. She asked Tsunade to check her work just to make sure she didn't do it wrong. Tsunade confirmed her findings and told the nurse that the kid may have a healing factor and that she would conduct the tests herself. It was at this point the 3rd Hokage entered and Naruto's confusion turned into another brilliant smile. "Good morning, Hokage Gigi. I am all better now." Hiruzen turned to Tsunade for confirmation and got a slight nod in response and a look in her eyes that said, "We will talk about it later." He then turned back to Naruto and asked, "Good morning, Naruto-kun. You gave us quite a scare. Are you sure you are feeling alright?" "Hi, Gigi. I am totally fine, especially since Hinata-chan is okay. What happened to that bad guy?" Hiruzen chuckled at the boy's exuberance. "Yes, Naruto-kun, Hinata-chan is fine. The bad guy was arrested and we are talking to him now. Don't you worry about that, just get better. Hi, Gigi. I want to get stronger Gigi, that man hurt me and he would have hurt Hinata-chan. Please, Gigi. Train me, please. Hiruzen's smile fell and he said, you are still young, Naruto-kun. Why don't you enjoy being a kid for now? No, Gigi. I want to get strong so I can protect my friends and take that hat from you. Please, Gigi. Just a little bit of training, I really want to be able to protect my friends. Besides, I can train and have friends and spend time with you and Bachan. Please, Gigi. A smile returned to Hiruzen's face and he said, okay, Naruto-kun. Just a little bit of training. However, I still want you to be a kid and spend time with your friends. Hi, Gigi. I promise. Replied an ecstatic Naruto. Later that day in the Hokage's office, Hiruzen was talking with Hiashi, Hisashi, Hitomi, his advisors and Tsunade. It turns out that the man was the head ninja of Kumo, the same man that was the ambassador for the peace treaty that was just signed. He had been tasked with kidnapping an unsealed Byakugan and returning with it to Kumo. If he were caught, he was to immediately commit suicide so that his death could be blamed on Konoha. However, the quick actions of Hitomi and Hiashi stopped him from being able to end his life. Now, he was interrogated via the mind-walking of the Yamanaka clan while he was kept asleep by a sleep seal that Jiraiya made for suicide risk T&I prisoners. Danzo opened the conversation, Hiruzen, this cannot be allowed to stand. This is a violation of the treaty we just signed. It is clear that the treaty was just a manipulation by the Third Raikage to trap us. Their own ambassador is the one tasked with kidnapping the Hyuga girl for Kami's sake. We should take this as an act of war. Hiruzen frowned, he knew he would get this reaction from his old rival. Relax, Danzo. It is not that I disagree with you, but we have just recovered from the Kyuubi's attack. We cannot afford to go to war at this time. Tahara nodded and said, war would not be beneficial. We are simply not in the right state to commit to a war with Kumo. However, we have a valuable political card here, Hokage-sama. We cannot afford to fold this hand either. Danzo cut back in, is it true that the boy managed to wound the enemy shinobi with a wooden kunai? Yes Danzo. Naruto was able to catch the kidnapper by surprise and lodged his wooden kunai in the man's left eye as he was tying up Hinata. Replied an amused Hiruzen. Danzo nodded his head and simply said, impressive, for one so young. As the room agreed with Danzo's statement, Hitomi spoke up, Hokage-sama, if I may speak freely. Hiruzen nodded and Hitomi squeezed Hiashi's hand as she continued, the Hyuga and the Uzumaki are the clans affected. They attempted to kidnap our heir and, in the process, they harmed the sole heir of two clans. Murmurs of confirmation came from everybody and Tsunade's face adopted a look of cold fury. However, it would seem that revenge may be out of our reach. So how about the next best thing? She asked. Looks of confusion erupted from everyone. Then Hitomi saw a twinkle in the Hokage's eye, yes, Hokage-sama. How about public humiliation? That is what that proud bastard of a Raikage would hate the most. Hiruzen chuckled and he took a hit of his pipe, ah, Hitomi-chan. Remind me to never get on your bad side. What does everyone think? I think we could talk to Daimyo-sama and get his help on this. Hi, Hokage-sama. They chorused. There was a slight frown on Danzo's face, but that lifted when he heard the next bit of news. Young Naruto woke up today and asked me for a favor that I am a bit hesitant to grant. He asked me to be trained in the shinobi arts so that he could get strong enough to protect his friends. Hiruzen said a bit resignedly. Danzo replied immediately, Hokage-sama, I volunteer to train the boy. You know that I have plenty of experience training shinobi from a younger age. I believe that I can get him trained. I have no doubt that you can, old friend. However, I do not want any of that emotional conditioning nonsense. Hiashi cut in at this point, Hokage-sama, the Hyuga clan owe Uzumaki-sen a debt. I believe that training is the least we could do to repay him. Tsunade then broke into the conversation, I want a piece of him too. That kid has enormous potential and he is already joining the medical staff for their morning training. Hell, the brat can keep up with most of my doctors. Hiruzen outright laughed at the immediate explosion of interest in his successor's son, okay. They say it takes a village to raise a child. The way I see it, young Naruto claimed his right to be my successor. I see that potential in him. However, I don't want to rob young Naruto of his childhood. We can create a schedule so that each of you can begin training him. Danzo, I am serious. None of your old route training and emotional programming. I will be keeping my eyes on the child's progress. I want you to teach him, in an appropriate manner, about the darkness of the shinobi world. We will handle showing him the leaf that bathes in the sun, and you have my permission to give him a glimpse of the roots of the great tree. Tsunade was bothered by this. She couldn't deny Danzo's effectiveness, but his methods were known to be brutal and damaging. Sensei, I know Danzo has a lot to teach. I would be lying if I said I weren't concerned about his methods, however, I will be watching him closely. My stipulation is that all training is to be done in the Namikaze training grounds. This will keep Naruto protected from prying eyes that would wonder why one boy is getting so much attention. Agreed, said Hiruzen as he once again saw consensus around the room. We will come up with a suitable schedule. I trust that Tsubaki has begun instruction of basic knowledge already. So, each of you will get 1 day a week to train Naruto. Since this is a group effort, what you teach will be known to the others. I will conduct annual progress reports with the boy. Anything else that need be discussed? With that, the meeting came to a close and Hiruzen sent a letter to the fire daimyo. Kumo's bad day. The third Raikage of Kumo, was a proud man. His pride was the only thing that could eclipse his strength. So, when he was visited unannounced by the lightning daimyo, who came with a party of 100 samurai and 1 prisoner, he was in a rather foul mood. The mood soured further when he caught a look at the prisoner's face from his city's gates. The vein that immediately popped on the man's head was so pronounced that you could see his heartbeat through its pulsing. Behind him, his son and named successor, also named I, could be seen. He picked up on his father's foul mood and took a step back and stood in silence. When one's father was on the Biju subjugation squad and had fought the Eight Tails one-on-one and had subdued it with only a wound to his chest, one knows not to be around when said father is angry. Killer B, the third Raikage's adoptive son and vessel of the eight-tailed octopus, also backed up and gave his adoptive father room. As the lightning daimyo's entourage approached and noticed the serious look of the entourage, the samurai took a ready stance when they saw the black lightning dancing off the third Raikage. The lightning daimyo had his men stand down since he was familiar with the antics of A. The daimyo motioned with his hand and the prisoner was brought forward. The previous head ninja of A's shinobi force wore a downcast look and sported an eye patch. He bowed his head, spoke out of turn and said, I am sorry, Raikage-sama. It was at that point that the black lightning exploded from A's body. He bounded forward and severed the man's head from his body. As the body fell lifelessly to the ground, the daimyo looked aghast at the behavior in the presence of a daimyo. The blood that spouted from the headless man splashed near the daimyo's feet. The lightning daimyo said, well, I had come to discuss the diplomatic ramifications of you creating a treaty, signing it and violating it on the same night it was signed. Now, though, that seems unnecessary. I hereby decree that any and all financial assistance from the Land of Lightning, as well as mission requests and funding, are suspended until the third Raikage A has been removed from office and replaced. I also expect a formal and public apology to Konoha to be made for violating the Five Nations rules of neutrality. I will await the newly appointed cage in the capital. That is all. The lightning daimyo ascended back into his carriage and the whole entourage turned back to the lightning capital. A deafening and palpable silence hung over the crowd as the lightning daimyo departed. The third Raikage looked frozen, as if he had locked up. His faces started turning blue and a slight twitching could be seen from his body. In his rage, his lightning chakra had gone out of control and caused his heart to start beating arrhythmically. If anyone dared to approach him, they may have noticed. Instead, they all waited for the third Raikage to explode. Then they kept waiting, nobody wanting to make the first move and draw upon the wrath of A. However, after nearly 30 minutes, A's son approached and put an arm on his dad's shoulder. Dad, we will work this. He never got to finish his sentence because the slight pressure from I's massive fist was the only force needed to push his now dead father over. Everyone gasped as the third Raikage fell, face first, dead on the paved road leading into Kumo. The carnage that followed left the Land of Lightning in a state of upheaval for the next 3 months. Eventually, I, the son of the third Raikage, was named the fourth Raikage of Kumo. The 3 months without missions and support from the Land of Lightning had caused a depression that would affect Kumo for nearly the next decade. I handled the public apology to Konoha as his first act as Raikage. I made it his mission to restore Kumo to its former glory. He had the largest shinobi force in the elemental nations. Now all he had to do was restore the faith that his father lost. It was because of all this that I adopted a mentality that all international dealings will be on the up and up. At least as up and up as shinobi affairs can be. Once news hit Konoha of Kumo's reaction to their humiliation, Sarutobi took all his advisors, the Hyuga clan representatives, Tsunade and Jiraiya, out for a night of drinking that cost him nearly half a year of his salary. Sarutobi, while happy and very hungover, vowed to never again offer Jiraiya and Tsunade an all-expense-paid drinking night. As Sarutobi was waking up, Tsunade was also coming to her senses. She had long since moved into the Namikaze estate. The Senju estate was so empty and brought up so many painful memories. That is why, when Tsunade woke up in her bed in the Namikaze estate looking at a long mane of white hair covering a naked man that was snoring with his face down in the pillow, Tsunade then grabbed Jiraiya and chucked him out the window of her room. The racket she made and the hell she raised woke up the whole estate. Tsubaki and Naruto walked up on a ranting Tsunade. Her tirade continued until Naruto spoke up and calmed her down. Maybe it was the cute and innocent toddler, or maybe it was her completely nude state, but she eventually did calm down. Start of training. The 4-year-old Naruto woke up at the crack of dawn to get to his training. For the past 6 months, he had trained 4 days a week. On Mondays he trained with Tsunade and sometimes Shizune. On these days, he would join the hospital staff for their morning physical training. After physical training, Tsunade would make breakfast for Naruto while quizzing him on the previous week's homework. They covered subjects like chakra, chakra nature, chakra control, the basics of field medicine and human anatomy. While it could be said that Naruto was smart for his age, most of this material was quite hard for him to understand. He learned basic anatomy quick enough and he knew how to treat cuts and basic wounds, but anything about physiology or internal medicine would clearly have to wait until Naruto was older. It was during this training that Naruto learned how to awaken and use his chakra. If Tsunade Bachan wasn't so scary, Naruto would admit that this was his least favorite day. Sure, Naruto understood that chakra control was super important. However, when a 4-year-old has Jonin level chakra, it gets very frustrating for a 4-year-old to control that much chakra. The leaf sticking exercise was very hard for Naruto. It took him a whole month to be able to stick the leaf for 30 minutes. Damn leaves kept blowing off his head or lighting on fire when he was just trying to keep them stuck to his head. In between his weekly lessons, Naruto had stripped most of the trees near the Namikaze estate of their leaves. He would be out there on the training fields, day after day just trying to make the damn thing stick. Tsunade recognized that Naruto's frustration just made the exercise harder. When she saw this, she would make him do physical exercises. Naruto did sets of 50 push-ups, diamond push-ups, pull-ups, squats, lunges, sit-ups and burpees, and then he would run around the training grounds 10 times. By the end of 6 months, Naruto could repeat these sets easily. He remembered trying to learn the tree walking exercise. He got frustrated so often that he ended up doing 12 sets of his usual workout in one day. Tsunade was so surprised when she saw his physical prowess that she made him meditate in between sets and tree walking attempts. To her immense pride, Naruto learned tree walking in 3 weeks. This control helped Naruto, and after tree walking, Tsunade attempted to teach Naruto his first jutsu, the Henge no Jutsu. At the 6-month mark of his weekly training, Naruto was close to mastering this technique. Naruto felt his progress and that filled him with pride. It also helped that whenever Naruto hit his training goals or mastered a new technique, Tsunade would take him to Ichiraku Ramen. After mastering the leaf sticking exercise, Tsunade took him to Ichiraku's. And like a crack addict, Naruto was hooked after the first bowl. The repeat visits led to Naruto eating 3 extra large bowls of ramen at the ripe young age of 4. Tucci, the stand's owner, saw the next coming of Kushina and his future best customer. Tucci and AM were quickly added to Naruto's list of those he would train to protect. Tuesdays were days that the Hyuga clan opted to teach Naruto. Hiashi, Hisashi and Hitomi split this duty. Their goal was to teach Naruto the basics of Taijutsu to establish a base for his Taijutsu. They also focused on the importance of being precise during katas, which taught Naruto attention to detail and precision. Hiashi was strict and emotionless, but it was clear that he took pride in his training. Days with Hiashi started with footing, form and katas. They evolved into attacking the wooden training dummy and hand positioning. This was hard work, especially when Hiashi found out about Naruto's usual workout. After that, Hiashi would make Naruto do 50 repetitions of one of his exercises for each mistake he made in his katas. This produced results in Naruto's Taijutsu basics. On the days Hisashi taught, Naruto often got to spar with Neji. This served to motivate both, and a friendly rivalry was formed. Under Hisashi's strict tutelage, both boys dared not step out of line. They were evenly matched, despite Neji being nearly a year older. However, toward the end of the 6-month period, Hisashi had to admit that Naruto was pulling ahead in raw Taijutsu. If Neji used the actual Juken, then Naruto would be defeated, but Hisashi did not want to start that type of sparring yet. Days with Hitomi were Naruto's favorite. Hitomi was kind, pretty and patient. She taught Naruto things like manners, etiquette and proper conduct. She knew this boy was going to grow into an important figure and didn't want him to be an ignoramus when it came to dealing with important people. The going was hard, but she could see the improvement. She also tried to bring Hinata whenever it was her turn to come. Naruto liked Hinata, she was nice, and she listened to him talk about whatever. After the first couple of visits, Hinata started getting more comfortable with Naruto. She would talk with much less stuttering, she stopped flushing whenever he looked at her, and she was even able to yell at Naruto once when he made a distasteful joke about her mother. Naruto was so caught off guard by a yelling Hinata that he immediately apologized profusely. The two kids had a good friendship, but Naruto made it his mission to break Hinata out of her shell. Wednesdays were weird for Naruto. The old mummy came on Wednesdays. Naruto initially needed Tsubaki present when Danzo was teaching because Naruto feared the gruff bandaged man. He was super strict, emotionless, and talked about stuff that made Naruto feel awkward. Naruto hadn't seen a dead person yet, so whenever Danzo-sensei had talked about killing Naruto got wide-eyed and shy. The first 3 months Danzo kept the training topics lighter, talking about the importance of stealth and operating without drawing attention. Surprisingly, Naruto proved an effective study at stealth lessons. The child had no concept of suppressing his chakra, which made him a beacon for a shinobi of Danzo's caliber. However, the boy was surprisingly good at staying out of sight. Danzo also piggybacked on the chakra control lessons Tsunade was teaching Naruto. He tried to get the boy to understand the importance. He was forbidden from teaching him water walking yet because his chakra coils were not developed enough. However, he would have the boy do exercises and katas while sticking to the tree. He did this to teach him control and multitasking. At 4 months in, Danzo started bringing his personal bodyguards with him to training. These people were pale sticks in the mud. They never smiled, never joked, never did anything. All they did was spar with Naruto and teach him. After watching Naruto do the leaf sticking exercise with one leaf on each of his arms, legs, torso and forehead, Danzo noticed that the boy was starting to burn some leaves. This led him to test Naruto's chakra and find out that he had very high fire and wind affinities. Despite this amazing discovery, the training group concurred that it was too early to teach him any elemental jutsu. Even though the boy was a natural, all trainers felt like they should hold off, except Danzo. Finally came Thursday. This was Naruto's favorite day each week. This was Uchiha Day. Fugaku heard about the training of Naruto and knew that he had to take part in it. He focused on the boy's taijutsu, trap making and shuriken jutsu. Things like physical activities seemed to motivate Naruto and he soaked up the knowledge like a sponge. Fugaku couldn't help but be proud of Naruto in Minato's stead. He would bring over Itachi, who had just entered the academy and was on track to graduate early. He also brought Sasuke, a very kind but competitive boy that was Naruto's age from the Uchiha clan. Sasuke liked these days because his dad would actually train him and Itachi Nai would train with him as well. He was frustrated and motivated by the fact that he had never beaten Naruto. In fact, over the 6 months Naruto had started to lap him in progress. Although Fugaku knew that it wasn't fair to compare the boy's due to Naruto's other trainers, it still brought a frown whenever he thought his boy was being outdone. On the other hand, Naruto had never beaten Itachi. In the beginning, Itachi had walked right over Naruto. He was better in every shinobi art, a true Uchiha. By the 6th month, Itachi would have to admit that the boy who was 3 years younger than him made him have to try. Itachi was being pushed in a spar by a 4-year-old Naruto. The boy was slightly slower than him, but Kami was he tricky to fight. His reflexes were top-notch and his fighting instinct was incredible. In the last week of the 6th month, Itachi activated his Sharingan by sparring with Naruto. Despite Itachi only being 8, he was now the youngest Uchiha since Madara to activate his Sharingan. When Itachi returned to the clan compound that day and told his best friend Shisui about activating his Sharingan while fighting Naruto, Shisui insisted on coming to every Thursday training session after that. Jiraiya would stop by the compound for a week at a time, a couple times each year. After the night and subsequent morning with Tsunade, they worked things out. To Jiraiya's immense relief, Tsunade said she would give them a test drive. Her conditions were there is absolutely no peeking in Konoha, and if he slept with any woman other than her, not only would it be over, but she threatened impotence. She requested that he abstain from it outside the village as well, but she knew that was a big ask. She just didn't want his perversion thrown in her face is all. Jiraiya always woke up with a shit-eating grin when he was in town, and this had a positive effect on Naruto's training. Jiraiya focused on Naruto's Fuinjutsu. Being the only Fuinjutsu master in Konoha meant that the responsibility to teach the last Uzumaki the art fell to him. Since the kid started his calligraphy when he was 3, Jiraiya was always surprised by the progress Naruto made. Jiraiya couldn't help but get excited and talk through seals when Naruto displayed an almost innate understanding of the art. When he was 4, Naruto created his own storage seal. He managed to improve on the basic storage seals found in the shinobi shops and increase their capacity by double. When Naruto was 6, he created a variation of the explosive tag that Jiraiya instantly took to the Hokage for mass production. Naruto made a flash tag that would only flash a 180-degree angle from where it was deployed. The potency of the flash depended on how much chakra was put into the tag. Being a knucklehead, Jiraiya had asked Naruto to flash him on max power to see the tag's effects. Jiraiya couldn't see until Tsunade had gotten home from the hospital that night and fixed the poor pervert's eyes. Speaking of perverts, since Jiraiya had sworn off all things perverse, he needed a muse. He found that in Naruto. The boy would talk about his innocent friendships with Ino and Hinata, and the pervert's mind automatically converted it into his raunchy novels. All he had to do was add in all things sexual, which came naturally to him, and Naruto's stories helped him find his inspiration. At the risk of Tsunade's wrath, Jiraiya gave Naruto a scroll on sensual ninjutsu level 1. This scroll taught Naruto how to use chakra and massages to stimulate other people relieve stress. As Naruto's chakra control got better, he began testing out the sensual ninjutsu. At first, he offered Tsunade, Tsubaki, Shizune, AM and the nurses from the hospital massages. He said it was to practice chakra control and make them feel better. Most of the women found it amusing until Naruto would give them a massage on their back, feet or hands. The immediate relief of tension and pain made Naruto a hero around the hospital. Stories of Naruto's success in the sensual arts gave Jiraiya even more inspiration and made him want to teach Naruto even more. Jiraiya poured his effort into his student son whenever he was in town and always left Naruto with the next level of Fuinjutsu book. At this rate, Jiraiya would be able to let Naruto into Minato's study in no time. These training sessions produced such good results that Fugaku and Hayashi couldn't help but share with the other clan heads. The hype around Uzumaki Naruto grew to a dim roar among those in the know. Sure, there are prodigies like Itachi, Shisui and Kakashi. They were young, and each of them displayed an amazing level of skill for their age. However, the positive energy that each teacher got from training Naruto made him unique among the prodigies. Not only did Naruto learn at an amazing rate, but he also made those teaching him enjoy doing so. These rave reviews caused Inoichi, Chaozu and Shukaku approach the Hokage about getting time to teach Naruto. For Tsume, it was the reviews on Naruto's massages that made her want to teach the boy. It seemed like a great deal to her. Teach the pup a bit and then he can take care of all the stress. To the Hokage's amusement, all requests to teach Naruto came in on the same day. He couldn't help but chuckle. This resulted in Naruto's playdates turning into impromptu training sessions with various clan heads and heirs. Naruto's free time, the rest of the week were rest days for Naruto. Although Tsubaki still made him study on these days, it was his time to relax, recover and be a child. Over the following 3 years, Tsunade frequently took him for play dates with his clan friends. She preferred to have the kids come to the Namikaze estate since Naruto was still young and they wanted to keep him out of the public eye, but relaxed that standard after a while. All clan leaders and family members had agreed to keep Naruto's existence a secret. Whenever he was in public, he was referred to as just Naruto. No clan name was ever said out loud in case nosy ears were listening. This worked well because there was not a single attempt from the villagers or outside shinobi to attack Naruto. So, after a while, Tsunade and Tsubaki began accompanying Naruto to the other clans' compounds or out to parks. He developed relationships with each of the clan children. Aside from the pre-made friendships between the Shikamaru, Ino and Choji, Naruto was the link that bound the clan kids together. Naruto was the ringleader of the boys. He would always partake in the games, choose where they should go, kept the conversation fun and flowing. Not to mention that he even made the lazy Nara enjoy running around and playing. The beloved roughhousing with Naruto and running around the woods in the Inyazuka compound with him. Choji loved the trips to the BBQ or ramen stand. Naruto even got Sasuke into his friend group. The timid Uchiha child struggled at first, but Naruto never left anyone out. In time, Sasuke began hanging out with the boys even without Naruto present. Shikamaru enjoyed just talking with Naruto while cloud gazing. He even taught Naruto how to play shogi, which often led to the boys sitting on the porch while huddled over the shogi board. Either Naruto was a Nara in disguise or he was a natural at shogi because he would come to the Nara compound, talk about anything and everything while playing shogi and then push Nara clan members hard. The boy was just so frustratingly random in his moves. Even Shukaku nearly lost to Naruto when Naruto was 7. The complete and total lunacy of Shukaku having to visibly concentrate, sweat and plan out his game made it seem like the Nara clan had lost, even though he won. Ishino couldn't get enough of the blonde knucklehead. He brought such vibrant energy to the lazy compound that she often bribed Tsunade with sake nights just to get Naruto over. When Naruto was 6, Shukaku made Shika spar with Naruto. Shika was beaten in 10 seconds, which frustrated the lazy Nara. No matter how troublesome it was, nobody wanted to be beaten that soundly. So, Shukaku nearly fell out of his chair the next morning when Shikamaru asked him to train him. The sight of the Nara heir running around the compound and sweating made the lazy clan feel one word, troublesome. Ino had the hardest time with Naruto. She liked hanging out with him so much. He was a fellow blonde, he was cute, he was funny, he was strong, and he always put his friends first. Ino loved that much about him. What was hard for Ino was that she wasn't allowed to talk about him or ask questions. She knew that everybody knew some big secret about Naruto, it was obvious from how the parents acted around him. It was why the secret was so important, it was why she couldn't ask questions, it was why Naruto seemed to be one big secret. When Ino turned 5 and Naruto came to her birthday party, she decided to ask him. She pulled Naruto into her room and then asked, "Naruto, do you know why I am not allowed to talk about you to anyone else?" "I'm sorry Ino, I don't really know myself. I asked Bachan about it and she said it was to keep me safe and that she would tell me soon." A sheepish Naruto replied. "Well, that sucks, do you know who your parents are? We only get to call you Naruto and we never use your last name." I know that my mom was in Uzumaki and that she died the night of the Kyuubi attack. I don't know who my dad was, but he is part of that secret that Tsunade-bachan said she would tell me soon. Oh, okay. So, you are in Uzumaki, were they a clan? I haven't heard of them. Naruto's face fell and he replied, yeah, they were a clan. Supposedly they helped found Konoha, but they never really lived here. Then, in the second Great Ninja War their home was destroyed. Tsunade-bachan thinks that I may be the last Uzumaki. Ino felt terrible, she saw how much this hurt Naruto, and she didn't want him to be sad. She even surprised herself when she leaned forward and gave Naruto a kiss on the cheek and said sorry for asking. The blushing Naruto reeled and asked Ino, what was that for? Ino giggled and replied with, it is because I like you silly and I don't want you to be sad. From that point forward, Ino was Naruto's champion in the gossip network. She kept an ear out to make sure nobody was talking about Naruto or spreading any information that shouldn't be out. Sure, she loved telling her friends how nice and cute he was, but she never betrayed Naruto's trust or told anybody his last name. She kept him on a pedestal in her heart as the truest standard of a friend. Meeting the fox, Naruto loved his life. He was almost 8 years old. Tsubaki had always been there for him, taught him and dare he say, loved him. Tsunade was another part of his family that Naruto couldn't live without. She kept him reeled in and bound to sanity. Naruto always found it amusing when Tsunade would pull him inside from a long day's training. She would throw him into the bathroom and not let him out until he was spotless. Her training was productive and made him feel in control of himself, which was quite a feat for an endless ball of energy. He has been meditating for almost 4 years now. This practice helped him process his training into easily manageable and digestible portions. It was during one such meditation session at the end of Naruto's training that Naruto went deeper than ever before. He was feeling his chakra and giving into its flow. He followed it from its origin, his heart, down and throughout his body. As he got caught in the flow, Naruto felt something pull on his conscious. As Naruto followed that pull and opened his eyes, he found himself in a hallway. One side of the hallway was illuminated in blue light. As he reached out and touched it, he immediately knew that it was his chakra. He could feel the flow. As he crossed the hallway, he paused in front of the red lighting. Once again, he knew it was chakra, but it felt different. As he reached his hand toward the red light, he felt the heat and immense energy it was emanating. When he touched the source of the red light, he felt anger and hate and something else. It felt wrong, like it was off balance. While this feeling scared him a bit, he decided to follow the hallway. He noticed as he walked by that the doors were labeled with names. Over one door read Bachan. Out of curiosity he opened it and watched a memory of him and Tsunade learning water walking. That was only a couple months ago, but it played out for him like a movie. He was in his orange swimsuit, completely soaked from head to toe. Tsunade was standing out on the lake laughing at him holding her favorite bottle of sake. Aw, come on Bachan. There is something you aren't telling me. I can't seem to get this right. Last time, I created a tidal wave and this time I take one step and then fall right in. It is something you have to figure out for yourself, brat. It is kind of like tree walking, that is the only clue that I will give you. Naruto pouted for a bit, then got a devious smirk on his face. Are you sure that's all you can tell me Bachan? If you help me get this done today, I will give you shoulder and foot massages every day this week. Tsunade couldn't help but be proud of this bugger. Alright, brat. The thing is that water is not a solid like wood. Therefore, the chakra flow cannot stay fixed. You must fluctuate your chakra based on the depth and condition of the water. Try double what you did for your last attempt than just trying to stand on the water's surface before walking. Thanks, Bachan. Said Naruto as he flashed his million-watt smile at Tsunade. After another few attempts, Naruto found the right flow and was able to stand on the water. Naruto focused on pulling himself out of the memory and stood in front of the door. This was surreal, who knew he could meditate and review memories like this. As he marveled on this, he continued walking down the hallway. After a minute, he came upon a massive door, about 40 feet high and 20 feet wide. It was emblazoned with the crest of a 9-tailed fox on each door. Naruto felt drawn into the room, like there was something he needed to do in there. As he entered, he marveled as the room opened up into a massive auditorium-like room. However, Naruto noticed that he couldn't see all the way across. After a bit, the room faded into darkness. So, being a curious almost 8-year-old child, Naruto continued walking. As he approached the darkness, a massive cage came into view. Being this close, Naruto could not see the end of the cage. Since Naruto couldn't see anything behind the cage, Naruto called out. Hello, is there anybody there? After he spoke, a light appeared from above and illuminated the massive head of a fox. Its head was lying over its paws that were crossed under its snout. Naruto could feel the massive power radiating from the creature. Its beautiful fur produced a reddish-orange sheen that was beautiful. The beast didn't move or do anything, so Naruto called out again. Hello Mr. Fox. This got a response from the creature. It opened its massive eyes and, in its eyes, Naruto saw the projection of what looked like a windmill shuriken. It had 3 black blades with a hole in the middle. Each of the blades curved off clockwise and connected to the next blade. Underneath the projection of this shuriken, Naruto could see a pair of slitted red eyes that looked out of focus. Naruto was stunned by the pattern, but he got the feeling that something wasn't right. It was then that Naruto heard one word before being ejected from that place: help. Naruto reeled and took a deep breath upon returning to the world. He couldn't believe what he just experienced. He knew that happened inside him, otherwise he wouldn't have been able to see his own memories. So, what was that fox? That was so vivid and real. It couldn't have been his imagination, could it? No. No way. It asked me for help. There is something inside me that needs help, thought Naruto. He got up and raced off to find Tsunade. Since the sun was setting, Naruto was sure that he would find Tsunade in the kitchen with Tsubaki. He would probably get scolded for missing dinner again. As he burst into the kitchen, Tsunade laughed at him. Out late training again, brat. Your dinner is in the fridge. Despite his hunger, Naruto needed to get this out. Not now, Bachan. I have something very important to ask you. Tsunade and Tsubaki noticed the serious and slightly panicked look on his face. Okay, Naruto, what is it? Bachan, I was meditating and saw something. I need to know. Is there a fox in me? The color drained from Tsunade and Tsubaki. Seeing their reaction, Naruto knew the likely answer. 4 years of learning and training his mind led him to one conclusion: is it the Kyuubi? After a pregnant pause, Tsunade answered Naruto, yes, brat. There is a long story behind this and it appears we will have to deal with it now. Get cleaned up and then we are going to the Hokage's office. An hour or so later, Tsunade, Tsubaki and Naruto walked into the Hokage's office. Hiruzen had dealt with most of the paperwork and was puffing on his pipe as they entered. He immediately noticed the serious looks on their faces and sat up. Good evening, Naruto-kun. What brings you to me so late in the day? Tsunade answered by asking Hiruzen to clean the room and asking if Jiraiya was in town. At the serious response, Sarutobi said that Jiraiya just got into town. He dispatched an Anbu to find him and bring him to the office. 15 minutes later and Jiraiya jumped in through Sarutobi's window and threw out a casual, "What's up, sensei?" He then looked around the room and saw the rest of its occupants. He walked up to Tsunade and gave her a chaste kiss while greeting Tsubaki and ruffling Naruto's hair. Tsunade returned the kiss and said, "Jiraiya-kun, serious mode please." This got an immediate response from the normally playful Toad Sannin. Sarutobi retook control of the conversation and said, "Okay, Naruto-kun. Why don't you tell us what this is about?" Thus, Naruto recounted his trip into his mind. What started as being impressed by being able to visit one's mindscape turned into a deathly silence and pallid looks on the faces of Jiraiya and the third Hokage. "Okay, my boy. It appears that it is time to have this conversation," replied Hiruzen with palpable desire to avert this conversation. Thus, Hiruzen began recounting the night of the Kyuubi attack, with the conclusion of the Kyuubi being sealed into Naruto. Naruto processed the information for a bit, then asked, "Gigi, something didn't feel right with the fox. When I felt its chakra, it felt like something was interfering with it. Like when Shizune Nechen put me in a genjutsu. Then, when the fox opened its eyes, it looked like something was on its eyes." The pallid expression of Jiraiya and Hiruzen darkened, while Tsunade and Tsubaki didn't seem to know what was going on. It was Jiraiya that asked, "Naruto, could you show us? Maybe draw it for us." "Sure thing, Jiraiya-sensei." Naruto unsealed a brush and some paper from a storage seal on his shirt. He then drew out the pattern that he saw on the fox's eyes, and the entire room was drowned in killing intent from the Hokage. In response to this, 4 Anbu showed up kneeling. "What do you need, Hokage-sama?" asked a dog-masked Anbu. "Inu, bring me Fugaku and Shisui Uchiha now." In response to this, the Anbu disappeared and reappeared 20 minutes later with a confused Shisui and Fugaku. The Hokage held up Naruto's drawing and asked, "Do you two recognize this pattern?" Although confused and now slightly perturbed by the feeling in the room, they both nodded. Hiruzen then asked, "Fugaku, this is the pattern of a Mangekyo Sharingan, will be called MS for short from here on out. Is that correct?" Although he was hesitant to spill clan secrets, Fugaku caught the mood in the room and noted the present parties. "Hi, Hokage-sama. May I ask what is going on?" Hiruzen had Naruto retell his encounter with the fox, and he put focus on how things felt off and the pattern on the fox's eyes. Both Fugaku and Shisui immediately went white. There had been suspicions about the fox being controlled, specifically by the Sharingan. Now, there is little doubt. So, there is either a traitor among the Uchiha or an unknown MS wielder controlled the fox. "Fugaku, I never thought I would have to ask this, but I need a straight answer from you. Are you two the only MS wielders in the Uchiha clan currently?" "Hi, Hokage-sama. As far as the clan is aware, that is correct. Do you understand the implications of this effect being on the Kyuubi still?" "Hi, Hokage-sama. The user is still alive, and if the fox were free, it would still be under that user's control. At this point, the Hokage flared his chakra again, calling the Anbu. Bring me Inoichi, it is an emergency. Once again, the Anbu disappeared and reappeared with an Inoichi in his nightwear. You called, Hokage-sama. Yes, Inoichi. There is a lot going on, but I trust Fugaku and Shisui will consent to you taking a look through their minds. I need to clear them of suspicion before we move forward. Fugaku and Shisui looked startled, but nodded their heads nonetheless and said, "Hi, Hokage-sama." The very confused and hesitant Inoichi responded, "Can I ask why, Hokage-sama?" Hiruzen looked to Naruto, who once again recounted his visit to the fox's chambers. Inoichi was stunned speechless. He was only brought back by Hiruzen clearing his throat. "Inoichi, make no mistake. I trust Fugaku and young Shisui there. I need only confirm what I believe before we can move forward. It will be done, Hokage-sama," replied Inoichi as he bowed and saluted. After an hour of mind-walking both Fugaku and Shisui, clearing them both of any liability, Inoichi recounted to the Hokage that they are trustworthy. "Okay, Fugaku and Shisui, do either of you possess enough chakra to attempt and break the control on the Kyuubi?" Fugaku responded with, "Hokage-sama, my MS does not have any mind control abilities. Mine are all combat-oriented." He then looked at Shisui. "I believe I can do it, Hokage-sama. I want to help Naruto-kun." Hiruzen nodded and looked to Inoichi. "Can you take Shisui into Naruto-kun's mind and attempt to free the fox of this genjutsu?" Inoichi paled, "Hokage-sama, that is extremely risky. What if the demon awakes and attempts to hurt Naruto, Shisui or myself?" According to Naruto-kun, the fox said only one word, "help." If we were to help it, not only would eliminate the control an unknown enemy has on the Kyuubi, but it might be grateful and make things easier on Naruto-kun. Naruto stepped forward, "Gigi, I don't know a lot about this, but I want to help it. It has been under someone else's control for almost 8 years. If I were it, I would want somebody to help me." The room marveled at the confidence and righteousness of this boy. Most ninja would cower in front of the Kyuubi, but this boy is standing up to his burden head-on. Inoichi reluctantly conceded, "Hi, Hokage-sama." Shisui also nodded. Inoichi continued, "Okay, you two take a seat on the couch. Naruto, when I connect Shisui to you, your mind it is going to feel heavy. I need you to focus on meditating and drawing us back to your mindscape. I will help guide you there. Shisui, just hold on to my chakra and enjoy the ride. Once we get there, it is all on you." "Hi, Inoichi-sama." As Inoichi sat and touched Shisui's head, a moment later Naruto felt Inoichi's hand touch his head. He then felt their presences and dragged them along his chakra flow, down toward his stomach and into his seal. The three opened their eyes in the hallway that led to the Kyuubi's auditorium. Inoichi marveled at the layout and precision of a child's mindscape. When he saw how the memories were divided by each person important to Naruto, he marveled at the boy's ability to organize his mind in this way. The group continued walking to the massive door. Before opening the door, Naruto gave them a warning to prepare themselves. They both nodded and followed in after Naruto. The immediate pressure they felt from the Kyuubi's aura was immense. The density of its chakra, the might of its presence. Then there was this child, walking forward like it didn't bother him at all. Naruto approached the cage and called out once again, "Kyuubi, I am here. You asked for help, I have brought it." The light above once again illuminated the head of the giant fox. It opened its eyes in response to the noise and looked out at Naruto, Shisui and Inoichi. Inoichi took his step back and felt himself sweat. Shisui marveled at the fox and the pattern emblazoned upon its eyes. He took a deep breath, channeled his chakra to his eyes, activated his Sharingan, which gradually transitioned into his MS. This got a response from the fox. Its head raised and it seemed to respond to the Sharingan. Shisui intoned, "Kai, Kodo Amatsukami, return to your own free will, Kyuubi." The lights around the room shuddered. The Kyuubi let out a mighty roar that instantly ejected Shisui and Inoichi from the mindscape. The Kyuubi stood and shook out its fur, seemingly happy to be moving of its own volition for the first time in 8 years. After settling back down and getting comfortable, the Kyuubi looked at Naruto with its massive red slitted eyes. He took in the boy in front of him and a growl emanated from deep in its throat. "So, I finally meet my new jailer. Normally, I would eject you from my presence, but I am in your debt," said the Kyuubi in a deep tone that radiated with power. The young boy standing in front of the majestic fox stood stricken by the combination of power, grace and beauty. He took a while to process that the Kyuubi was waiting for him to respond. "It's nice to meet you, Kyuubi-sama. My name is Naruto Uzumaki." The guttural chuckle escaped from the Kyuubi. "Ah, so Kushina's brat is the one I am now stuck in. Well, boy, as I said, I am in your debt for freeing me from that man's cursed control. I do not leave debts unpaid, so speak." I don't really want anything from you. I saw you when I was meditating and noticed something wasn't right. Then you asked me for help, so I brought help. And, yeah. That's pretty much it." Why did you help me, Ninjin? Because I thought that I wouldn't want somebody controlling me and I felt its influence in your chakra. It was dark, nasty and nothing good could ever come from it. So, it seems you picked up my ability to sense negative emotions. Very good. Okay, Ninjin. As I said, I do not want to be in your debt and I am tired from that accursed Jinjutsu. I will answer one more question, then I will sleep. Oh, okay, said an overwhelmed Naruto, then he took a deep breath and asked, did you attack Konoha because you wanted to or were you forced to attack Konoha? Once again, a deep chuckle filled the auditorium. When I was ripped from your mother, I was angry. However, as I was reforming, that man put me under his control. After that, he gave me the command to destroy Konoha. When I was given that order, I began attacking your village until that yellow-haired ninja and the toad attacked me and moved me away from the village. We fought for a bit, but the toad and your mother held me down, while that cursed Yondaime Hokage sealed me into you. Wow, so the Yondaime did fight you, huh? And my mom? Thank you for telling me. Can I ask one more thing? The Kyuubi nodded while looking at this child. Such a small ninja, but he is holding in his fear. What's more, I don't feel any hate or resentment coming from him, thought the Kyuubi. Naruto continued, can you tell me about this man that controlled you? I want to tell my Hokage Gigi and Tsunade Bachin about him. Very well, tiny ninja. The man wore a black cloak and an orange spiral mask. The mask had an eye hole on the right side where his accursed Sharingan put me under his control. That is all for today, I wish to sleep. Give me some time and think about what you want from me. I do not wish to owe any favors. Thank you, Kyuubi-sama. By the way, my name is Naruto Uzumaki, Databeo. As Naruto withdrew from the Kyuubi's auditorium and exited his mindscape, he heard that deep chuckle again. Very well, Naruto Uzumaki. As Naruto came back to the real world, he blinked open his eyes and saw every Iyu in the room trained on him. Tsunade was worrying over him like a mother hen. When she saw him come to, she crushed him into her in a full-blown back-breaking hug. Naruto, are you okay? The boy was exhausted, his eyes were threatening to close on him. He shook out his head and summoned just a bit more energy. Hi, I am fine. I just talked with the Kyuubi for a bit. He told me about the man that attacked that night and put him under his control. He also said that he owes me a favor for breaking that Jinjutsu and that I should think about what I want from him. Everyone was startled by this bit of information, but Jiraiya and Sarutobi's eyes met briefly. They had their suspicions about that night, now they were confirmed. Naruto continued, the Kyuubi said that a man in a black cloak with an orange spiral mask took him out of my mother. The mask had one eye hole on the right-hand side and that all he could see was the Sharingan. Yugaku and Shisui exchanged a worried glance to each other, then looked to the Hokage. Hiruzen locked eyes with each of them. This information is to stay in between the people of this room. The damage this could do to the Uchiha and the village is unimaginable. Naruto, that is all for tonight. I will ask you to come back to my office later to review this conversation you had with the Kyuubi. For now, go home and rest. It is clear you need it. Tsubaki bowed to the Hokage and took Naruto and left the room. Yugaku, I trust you, Minato trusted you, and Naruto trusts you. I need you to be discreet and investigate every clan member that was unaccounted for that night. Before you start, I am not saying with certainty that it was anyone still within the village that did this. However, we cannot leave any stone unturned. You are not to tell anybody of the real reason, but I need you to watch your own clan. Yugaku's face tightened. The Uchiha clan were a proud clan. It is painfully obvious the ramifications this could have on his clan. So, he swallowed his pride and the bit of betrayal he felt at suspecting his fellow clan members. Hi, Hokage-sama. It will be done. Shisui bowed with Yugaku, showing his loyalty to the Hokage. Very well, that is all for tonight, you may return home. We will talk more later. He continued, Jiraiya, I don't even need to say it. Find this man in the orange mask. Work that spy network of yours. It is clear that this man poses the greatest threat to our village. And please, be discreet. We don't want him knowing that we know. Jiraiya replied with a deadly serious face, Hi, sensei. I will set out soon, but it is time the Gaki knows. It is time we give him access to his inheritance and help prepare him. Please sensei, tell him. He is ready. With those parting words, Jiraiya jumped out the window. The night drew to a close. So much time had passed that the sun was rising and light began peeking into the Hokage's office. He sighed, this damn job is going to be the death of him. He shuffled some paperwork into a makeshift pillow and tried to catch a little bit of sleep before the day started right back up on him. The next afternoon, Naruto woke up from a restless night, or should he say morning's sleep. His mind was in a whirlwind of activity. All of the revelations of that night came into a loose focus. First and foremost, he spoke to the Kyuubi. The same Kyuubi that attacked the village. The same Kyuubi that is said to be the most powerful demon beast. He wondered, what is a demon? The Kyuubi talked to him, and while it was scary, like shit your pants and pray you don't die scary, the Kyuubi told him about that night and about his mother. He said he was ripped out of his mother, but then she held him down. So, the Kyuubi being forced out of his mother didn't kill his mom. Then what killed her? As one thought came into clarity, another thought assaulted it and forced it out of focus. Thus, when a disheveled Naruto scooted into the kitchen rubbing his eyes, both Tsunade and Tsubaki adopted concerned looks on their faces. Tsubaki opened the conversation, "Did you get any sleep, Naruto? You still look quite tired." "Hi, Tsubaki-chan. I just have a lot on my mind and I can't seem to settle it all down." The response enhanced Tsubaki's concern and she walked over to Naruto and embraced him in a motherly hug. It was the least she could do after this child brought so much light and life back into her world. He had brought her back from the brink of losing herself in grief after the Kyuubi attack. Naruto seemed to melt into the hug as she whispered comfortable reassurances into his ear. "Brat, I know you probably have a lot of questions, so why don't we answer some of your questions before we go back to the Hokage's office?" asked Tsunade in a gentle tone. "Okay, Bachan. Can you tell me about Kushina? Is she really my mother?" A small smile lit upon Tsunade's face as she remembered the brash, raucous and eternally loyal Kunoichi. "Your mother was an amazing woman, Naruto. She was so excited when she found out she was pregnant with you. She should have been the one here with you instead of me. I was supposed to be the one to deliver you, but I was out of town at the time." Guilt-racked Tsunade. She had been so caught in her own grief that she went on a bender in Tenzaku town and completely missed Naruto's birth. If she were there, maybe if she were there that whole night would have been different. "Bachan, I wish I knew my mother, but you and Tsubaki-kachan have always been here for me. You have helped me so much. I don't know why you look sad, but please, Bachan, don't ever say you shouldn't be here. I don't know what I would do without you. I love you, Tsunade Bachan." And with those 3 words and a hug from the tiny blonde, the dams broke. The pent-up grief and frustration flowed out of Tsunade and onto Naruto in the form of sparkling, purifying tears. After that, Tsunade spent the rest of the early afternoon sharing stories of Kushina with Naruto. The smiles and laughter emanating from the blonde lit up the house and seemed to clear out the remainder of Tsunade's grief. "Okay, brat. It is time we went back to talk with the Hokage." 20 minutes later, Naruto and Tsunade ambled into Hiruzen's office and saw Jiraiya leaning against the wall to the Hokage's left. Hiruzen made a quick hand sign and 4 blurs could barely be seen leaving the room. Jiraiya then flashed through a quick series of hand signs and slammed his hand on the ground. The translucent blue light flowed into kanji as it spread out in the 4 cardinal directions around the room. "Okay, Naruto-kun. Last night you said the fox told you a couple things. Could you repeat them for this worn old man? I have already gotten Shisui's and Inoichi's versions of the story, but they were ejected before you were able to talk to the Kyuubi," said a clearly exhausted Hokage. "Hi, GG. The Kyuubi said that the man attacked and somehow forced the Kyuubi out of my mom, Kushina Uzumaki. He then said the man put him under some super strong genjutsu and ordered him to attack the village. He also said that the 4th Hokage sealed him into me while some giant toad and Kachan held him down. Then he said he owes me one favor for freeing him from the genjutsu, but I don't really know what to ask him for," replied a vibrant and refreshed Naruto. His earlier conversation with Tsunade helped slow his thoughts down enough. "Very good, Naruto-kun. Let's take this one at a time. What the fox says matches with what we found that night in the cave after the Kyuubi's attack. The Anbu and nursing staff were killed with kunai. So, it is safe to assume the man in the orange mask killed them as well." Hiruzen gritted out that last part through clenched teeth. Naruto-kun doesn't need to be weighed down by an old man's grief, thought Hiruzen. "I am sorry I wasn't there, Buwako-chan. Now, Naruto-kun, can you tell me about how the Kyuubi acted? Did it seem like we can trust him?" "Well, Gigi, I think we can trust him. When I was in there, he said something about my ability to sense negative emotions coming from him." Tsunade cut in, "Wait, Naruto, since when can you sense negative emotions?" Her incredulous tone amused Naruto. Naruto chuckled and sheepishly rubbed at the back of his head, I guess I have always been able to feel it a little bit. But when I touched the fox's chakra and felt the dark disturbance the genjutsu caused, well then it became clear. And then when the Kyuubi said that, well it all kind of made sense, I guess." "That is interesting indeed, Naruto-kun. Mito Uzumaki used to have an ability like that. It wasn't very well documented, but it may have come from the Kyuubi as well." The 3rd Hokage chimed in with a little more energy in his voice. "Wait, the Mito, like Hashirama Gigi's wife. She had the Kyuubi too?" asked an interested Naruto. "Very good, Naruto-kun. Your lessons with Tsubaki and Hitomi are clearly paying off. Yes, Mito Senju Uzumaki was the wife of the 1st Hokage and the 1st Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi." "Jinchuri what?" "Jinchuri?" questioned a confused Naruto. "Jinchuriki, Naruto-kun. Those who seal the Biju into themselves are referred to as Jinchuriki. You are the third Jinchuriki to the Kyuubi no Kitsune. The same as your mother and Mito. Wow, okay, Gigi. Well, are there other Jinchuriki? Yes, Naruto-kun. There is a total of 9 Biju, each with a different number of tails. These Biju are sealed into humans, and the humans are called Jinchuriki, meaning the power of human sacrifice. Answered the Hokage in his professor tone. That's awesome. Can I meet them, Gigi? I want to know what the other Biju and Jinchuriki are like. Replied Naruto in a tone of childlike awe and exuberance. Hiruzen chuckled, well Naruto-kun, Biju and their Jinchuriki are closely guarded secrets of the various nations. The power that each Jinchuriki represents holds the balance of power throughout the elemental nations. Therefore, it is not common for the Jinchuriki to meet unless it is on the fields of battle. That is one of the reasons we have kept you so hidden, Naruto-kun. Because I wanted to give you the chance to grow before you were known to the public. Okay, Gigi. I understand but you said one of the reasons, what is the other reason? Hiruzen sighed and took a deep drag on his pipe. Jiraiya and Tsunade stepped forward and put a hand on each of Naruto's shoulders. Naruto-kun, I am going to tell you a big secret because I believe I can trust you. Until we all decide that people should know, you need to keep this a secret. As of right now, only a few of the clan heads know who your father is, and it needs to stay that way. My father? Are you finally going to tell me who he was? Naruto's tone cracked and damn near broke every heart in the room. We sure are, Gaki. We all trust you can handle this, so please stay calm and listen to the Hokage. Jiraiya said with a big smile plastered on his face. Tsunade just gave his shoulder a little squeeze. Hiruzen continued, okay, Naruto-kun. You already know your mother was Kushina Uzumaki. What you may not know about her is that she was the Whirlpool Princess. In her home nation of Uzushiogakure, she was the daughter of the last Kage before its downfall. And your father was Minato Namikaze, the fourth Hokage. Hiruzen let that hang as he observed the boy. His eyes were wide and shining with a layer of yet-to-fall tears. His mouth was hanging open as he slowly turned his head and looked at the portrait of his now-known father. The man had big azure blue eyes and the same shade of sun-kissed blonde hair that he did. He had 2 bangs framing his face and wore a Jonin flak jacket with a white haori laid over it. The confidence and power he exuded could be felt from his portrait alone. As Naruto was lost looking into the portrait of the fourth, Hiruzen walked over to said portrait. He opened the picture that was set on some hinges to reveal a seal that was kept behind the picture. Hiruzen channeled some chakra into the seal and 2 scrolls popped out. He handed the scrolls to Naruto and said, your parents made these letters in case something bad happened to them. In the ninja world, letters like these are needed to make sure loved ones get closure. Your parents gave these to me the night before you were born, Naruto-kun. Naruto hesitantly accepted the letters. With tears in his eyes, he opened the scroll that had a red hemming around its edges. Naruto looked down at the scroll through tear-filled eyes and read to Naruto-kun from Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze. Anada, Naruto-kun, if you are reading this, it means something happened to me. I am writing this the night before I give birth to you. I cannot put into words how excited I am to meet you. For these past 9 months, you grew in me and my love for you grew every single day. Your father is a great man, if something happens to me then you can trust in him. Minato-kun has been heckling me every day to listen to Tsunade and he is constantly nagging me about my health. Your father has loved you since the day I told him. Oh, Naruto-kun, I hope I get to tear this letter up. I hope you never have to feel this pain. My heart is shattering just thinking of you living without your Kachan. Naruto, if the worst does happen there are a few things you need to know. I left the whole Konoha version of the Uzumaki clan scrolls in your father's study. The scroll is secured behind an Uzumaki blood barrier and it is the one that is red. Use it wisely, use it to grow strong to protect yourself and those important to you. Second, Uzushiogakure fell 12 years before your birth. I never got the chance to go back there. If you can make it there, please secure our heritage. In the small home on the northwest outskirts of the village, there is a seal array. This array will lead a true Uzumaki to where they need to go. Please do not let the centuries of knowledge our clan gathered die. If your Kachan can ask one more thing, please work to rebuild the Uzumaki clan and restore it to its former glory. Set up a home for them in Konoha, spread the Uzumaki beacon far and wide, and gather the remainders of our clan to Konoha. Nothing is more precious to an Uzumaki than family. Ask Hiruzen, Tsunade and Jiraiya to help you with this as a final favor to me. Naruto, this part is something my mother told me before I left Uzushiogakure. Don't be picky. Eat lots and grow strong. Make sure that you bathe every day and stay warm. Also, don't stay up late, you need lots of sleep. And make friends. You don't need a lot of friends. Just a few. Ones you can really trust. I wasn't very good at it, but keep up with your studies and practice your ninjutsu hard. Remember that everyone has strengths and weaknesses. So don't get too depressed if you can't do something well. Respect your teachers and upperclassmen at the academy. Oh, and this is important. It's about the 3 prohibitions for a shinobi. 1. Be extra careful about lending and borrowing money. Put your mission wages into your savings account. No alcohol until you're 20. Too much can ruin your health, so drink in moderation. 3. Another prohibition is women. I'm a woman, so I don't know too much about this, but all you need to remember is that this world is made up of men and women. So, it's only natural to take an interest in girls. But just don't get hooked on bad women. Find someone just like me. My boy, I pray to Kami that you will never read this letter, but if you do, remember one thing. Your Kachan loves you dearly and I will be watching over you from the pure world. With all my heart and love, Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze. Jiraiya, Tsunade and Hiruzen remained silent while they watched this young boy read the scroll from his mother. The tears of sorrow that flowed freely seemed to sparkle as they turned into tears of happiness, and then a look of determination and firm resolve fixed itself to Naruto's face. The young and rounded face of Naruto remained hardened as he picked up Minato's scroll, and then, after taking a deep breath, Naruto opened the black scroll with yellow edges. My son, Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze from Minato Namikaze Uzumaki. My son, if you are reading this, then it is likely that I have perished. I knew that becoming the Hokage meant that I would have to place the village before my life. I have no regrets. I met a beautiful and fiery red-headed woman that restored the light to my world, and it was your mother that kept my will of fire burning brightly. As Hokage, I will be forced to make decisions that you may not understand. If this is the case, know that I am sorry, my son. When I took the mantle of Hokage, the whole village became my family, and I will protect family with my life, no hesitation and no regrets. I swear to you that I did my best to lead Konoha down the righteous path. If I perish before you have matured, please remember that I love you, eternally. I believe in you, my son. My goal right now is to grow a family with your mother and lead the ninja world toward the path of peace. It is likely I have not yet succeeded if you are reading this letter. I ask you to carry that mantle, my son. I have only spoken to you and held you through your mother's belly, but I felt the light in you. I felt the power that can change the world. Do not fear making mistakes. Struggle forward, 1 foot at a time. Never give up. Never give up on never giving up. Protect those important to you. If Konoha is your home, protect it in my stead. I am sorry for asking you to shoulder this burden, but I know that you can. You are my son, after all. Not to mention the fire you will inherit from your mother. On to the good stuff. My study is hidden behind a Jinjutsu seal that is on the wall to the left as you walk down the basement stairs. Please do not allow anybody except for Jiraiya down there. If you do so before deactivating the security seals, it is likely they will die. I ask you to guard that library diligently and please do not let outsiders gain access to our clan's knowledge. I have no doubt they will pressure you for it. Once again, I trust you to make the right decision with this. Use prudence, my son, and use what I have left you to accomplish your goals. I will love you, always and forever. Minato Namikaze Uzumaki. After this letter, Naruto looks down through half-lidded eyes as sees some extra hastily written sentences. Naruto, the Kyuubi is attacking Konoha right now. I took the time to write this because I want you to know why I chose you to seal the beast. You are in Uzumaki, which means you will have enhanced vitality and a denser chakra that can handle the strain the Kyuubi will place on your body. Furthermore, I cannot ask anyone to do something that I am not willing to do myself. I am sorry to burden you with this. I only pray that Konoha will honor you as the hero you are. In case they do not, let me be clear. You are the vessel of the Kyuubi, not the Kyuubi itself. A man in an orange mask, with a single Sharingan eye on the right side, attacked us right after your birth. While I saved you, he ripped the Kyuubi out of your mother. For what it is worth, the Kyuubi is under a Jinjutsu, so if you talk to the beast, know that this attack was not purely its fault. I made the seal to slowly incorporate the Kyuubi's chakra into your chakra pool. The seal will purify the Kyuubi's chakra for you. This is a great power, my son, learn to use it wisely. With love forever, Minato. Naruto took a couple minutes to compose himself. His breathing was erratic and once again he felt the whirlwind of information storming through his mind. Tsunade embraced him from behind and Jiraiya squatted down in front of him to get on eye level. Naruto, we wanted to tell you, but I am sure you will come to understand how serious this information is. We are here for you. We will help you. When you are ready, you can let us know. With a ruffle of Naruto's hair and a squeeze to his shoulder, Jiraiya stood up and backed away. Once Naruto had calmed his breathing, he started the conversation. Gigi, there is a lot in here. I need to go to my dad's study. He told me where it was and how to get in. The only one allowed to come with me is Jiraiya Kyofu. He is the only one keyed into the security seals. After a breath and with deadly seriousness Naruto continued, my father added to his letter the night of the Kyuubi attack. He informed me that the man in the orange mask with the Sharingan was the one who attacked. Hiruzen sat up straight and looked at Jiraiya, my previous orders on this stand. Find him. We need to stop him before he makes another attempt on Konoha. Tsunade walked to Jiraiya and embraced him. During their embrace, she whispered, be safe, Baka. and come back to me. This moment of intimacy brought out the long-repressed pervert in Jiraiya. As both of Jiraiya's hands wrapped firmly around the ample posterior of Tsunade, Tsunade used her super strength to push him back and through the Hokage's office wall. The loud crash brought the attention of the Anbu, which made Hiruzen sigh and wave them off once again. Okay, Naruto-kun. Why don't you return home and start searching through your father's study? Remember, my boy, if you make any contact with the fox or need my help I am always here. Hi, Gigi. Thank you, Hokage-sama, for trusting me. I will guard this information and never betray your trust. As Naruto said this, he bowed deeply to his Gigi and Hokage. After recovering himself, Naruto took Tsunade's hand and returned to the Namikaze estate to begin sorting through his father's study. 1 week later in the Namikaze estate, Naruto had been searching through his father's study for the past week. Naruto had Jiraiya key Tsunade and Tsubaki into the security system so that they could enter with him. The number of scrolls and books on all matter of shinobi subjects was overwhelming. Sadly, it appears that neither of his parents were very organized. Naruto kept his usual training cycle with Tsunade, Danzo, the Hyuga and the Uchiha. Sadly, Naruto was told that Itachi wouldn't be joining them for a while because his is going through his Anbu training. Fugaku was swollen with pride when he mentioned the nearly 12-year-old Uchiha joining the Anbu ranks. After training, the first 4 days and nights in the study were spent tidying up his father's library. His father was a genius, no doubt. However, it was clear to Naruto that his father embraced the mantra that genius functions best amongst chaos. His father's L-shaped, oak desk was covered in dozens of scrolls. Each scroll was covered in a layer of dust, and Naruto found that, after organizing, he would need to air out the room. On the 5th day, which was a Friday, so he didn't have any training, Naruto found the barrier that his mother had mentioned. After cutting his thumb with a 3-pronged kunai that was on the desk, Naruto smeared some blood over the seal array. He marveled as the array spread, flashed and then the barrier shimmered into and out of existence. With the barrier down, Naruto saw an ornate chest made of maple wood and covered in seals. Where the keyhole would normally be, the kanji seemed to coalesce into a seal array with the kanji for blood in the center. Naruto nicked his thumb again, and the chest opened with a click and a hiss. Inside the chest were 2 scrolls, each the size of Naruto. One was an ornate scroll bound in a red leather with golden edging. The Uzumaki clan symbol acted as a clasp for the scroll, which wouldn't budge when Naruto tried to open it. Following the pattern, Naruto nicked his thumb for the 3rd time and smeared blood on the Uzumaki clan crest. The blood seemed to be absorbed by the crest, and the scroll opened. The scroll was 4 feet wide and about 12 feet long when fully opened. Naruto laid it out on the floor and scanned the whole scroll. Near the bottom, the last entry was written in his mother's handwriting. For the love of Kami, if anyone is reading this and you are in Uzumaki, then use the shadow clone jutsu. Otherwise, you will never finish. See seal below for jutsu. Naruto let out a full, hearty laugh at his mother's antics. He saw a small seal below his mother's entry and fed some chakra into the seal. With a small poof of smoke, a scroll appeared. It was labeled Kinjutsu Shadow Clone Jutsu. Naruto decided to heed his mother's advice and read through the scroll. The Shadow Clone Jutsu is an Uzumaki clan technique developed by Arisher Uzumaki. The technique is used by gathering chakra at the central chakra point, the heart, and forming it through the ram, snake, tiger hand signs, then add the Uzumaki cross. You cross your right hand over your left. Each hand will have the pointer and middle fingers fully extended. The index and pinky fingers will circle back toward the thumb, and the thumb will link with the index finger. See diagram if you are a visual learner. As you mold your chakra out of the central chakra point and through your fingers, focus on dividing your consciousness. This technique will divide your mind and chakra evenly among the clones you create. When the clone is dispelled, the consciousness of the clone and any unused chakra return to the user of this jutsu. This means that all matters of the mind, including the experience, knowledge and muscle memory the clone acquired, will return to the user. Warning. This Uzumaki Kinjutsu is highly dangerous. Do not make more clones than you can handle. Each clone cost about 1 A rank jutsu worth of chakra. Start with a single clone and slowly build up before attempting to use en masse. Along with the memories, the clones will return all mental fatigue incurred throughout their existence. If overused, this can cause unconsciousness, brain hemorrhaging and ultimately death. Naruto gulped nervously, then he thought, well, everyone says that I have a ton of chakra and I heal super quick, so I guess it should be okay. With that thought, Naruto went to the small training area incorporated into his father's study. He began attempting the jutsu after practicing the hand sign repetition. It was difficult. How exactly does one focus on splitting one's mind? After about 2 hours of trying, Naruto was breathing heavily and cursing himself. He decided to sit down and meditate to calm his mind and his chakra. After 5 minutes of breath control, Naruto hopped back on his feet and screamed, Naruto Uzumaki never gives up. Dadabeo. Tsubaki heard Naruto scream and grew curious. She walked down the stairs into Minato's study. What she saw made her freeze. As she reached the bottom of the stairs, she watched as two Narutos high-fived, which made a resounding slapping sound. Her confusion turned to laughter as both Narutos were shaking out their hands. Neither of them was expecting the force the other put into it. Naruto turned to Tsubaki as he heard her laughter. "I did it, Tsubaki-chan," screamed two elated Narutos. Not knowing which one to look at, Tsubaki addressed both of them and said, "That's great, Naruto-kun. Mind telling me what you have done?" She paled when she heard him say the shadow clone jutsu. She knew that this was a Jonin level technique. "And where, pray tell, did you learn such a technique? That technique is much too difficult for someone your age." "I learned it in mom's scroll." "Don't worry, Tsubaki-chan, I got this. I read all of the warnings." "Warnings?" Tsubaki asked as she grabbed the scroll that was near the edge of the training room. She paled when she read the list of potential side effects. "Naruto-kun, you should not be doing this jutsu. You could get severely hurt." "Don't worry, Tsubaki-chan. Everyone says I have tons of chakra and heal super fast. Even after making this clone, I don't feel tired at all." "Hey, Tsubaki-chan, will you take this clone far away, tell it a secret and then punch it hard for me?" Why would I do that, Naruto-kun? That seems kind of dangerous and mean." "Oh, come on, Kachin. It is just a clone and I need to test something out." At this, the clone adopted a nervous look on its face and nodded at Tsubaki. "Okay, fine, Naruto-kun. Come on you." She giggled as she walked around the corner. She then told the clone her secret and then bonked it hard on the head, which transformed the Naruto into a puff of smoke. She walked back into the training room and looked amused as she took in Naruto. The boy was rubbing the top of his head and had a faraway look in his eyes for a second. The depth of the brilliant azure blue eyes returned and Naruto beamed at her. "It worked, Kachin. It really worked. You told me you love running your hands through my hair when I sleep. Oh, and I owe you a foot massage for doing this favor. Oh, okay, I guess." Tsubaki just shook her head in an amused fashion as she walked back up the stairs. "Dinner is in 1 hour, young man, do not be late." 1 hour later, Naruto walked into the kitchen doorway. Tsunade looked up and greeted him before returning to her medical report. "Hiya, Bachin," cried out Naruto as he took his seat next to Tsunade. She nodded, showing that she had heard him. "Good evening, Bachin," said another Naruto as it sat down on the other side of Tsunade. Once again, with her attention focused on the report, she muttered, "Hiya, brat." A third Naruto walked through the door, up to Tsunade, and gave her a kiss on the cheek. "Let's eat, Bachin, I am famished." This roused Tsunade from her report and she looked up incredulously. Incredulity turned to shock as two of the Narutos popped out of existence. Naruto guffawed at the look on Tsunade's face. "I got you good, Bachin," exclaimed Naruto with mirth in his voice as he fell out of his chair and started rolling on the floor while clutching his stomach. Tsunade couldn't believe it. She couldn't believe it at all. This brat, at roughly 8 years old, just casually used 2 cage bunshin to pull a prank on her. "Naruto, how when were those cage bunshin?" Naruto started recovering from his laughter as he stood up, looked at her and just said, "Yup, found my mom's scroll." The last entry from her said that anyone reading the scroll should first learn the cage bunshin or otherwise learning everything would take too long. "And before you say anything, Bachin, I know the risks. I started practicing it 3 hours ago and I can already make 2 clones." Incredulity returned to Tsunade's face. "Brat, you're telling me you learned the shadow clone technique, a Jonin level jutsu, in under 3 hours?" After a proud yup from Naruto, Tsunade just shook her head and smirked. "Well, brat, I guess this means I can train you about say 3 times harder on Monday." Naruto's giggling and laughter ceased and his face paled a bit. Then he shook himself out of it and said, "Bring it on, Bachin. You better give up on trying to make me give up." Dadabeo. Unprecedented growth. If anyone asked Naruto why he trained so hard, they would receive a smirk from the blonde. He would point at them and say, "Because I got to protect everyone. Once I have done that, I am going to be the Hokage, Dadabeo. After I become the Hokage, I am going to bring peace to the ninja world." He gave this answer to each of his trainers, the Hokage and each of the clan leaders. They had all gathered to watch Naruto's progress test on his 9th birthday. The blonde had worked hard over the past year in all aspects of his training. As Naruto was stretching and preparing to fight some guy the Hokage appointed, Naruto reflected on the past year. Tsunade held to her promise with Naruto. After Naruto showed off his shadow clones to Tsunade, she would have him create as many shadow clones as he could while still being able to make it through his training. It started with 3 clones and grew to be 50 clones, his current limit. Naruto would have his clones focus on 3 areas. One group of clones would focus on chakra control. This group would be seen sitting on the water, attached to trees and trying to keep leaves stuck on various points of their bodies. You know, typical chakra control stuff. Naruto was extremely happy he could put this work off on his cage bunshin. The next group would be seen reviewing medical texts. Since Naruto's mind had matured rapidly, he was starting to soak in the medical knowledge. He earned his field medicine certification from Shizune. The last group was attempting to incorporate a chakra control into their taijutsu. The many fist-sized holes and missing bark that marred the trees around the Namikaze training ground were testament to this. Finally, Naruto himself would go with Tsunade with the remainder of his chakra and endured her physical training. This included spars, tasks like throwing boulders 3 times his weight and other various absurdities. The density of Naruto's chakra allowed the boy to strengthen his body to absurd proportions. When the Hokage was watching through his crystal ball and witnessed Naruto pick up a 300-pound stone, then Naruto threw said stone 20 feet. The Hokage's pipe fell out of his mouth and then the old man fell out of his chair. Needless to say, this training was working for Naruto. On Tuesdays, instead of one Hyuga, Naruto would get 2 or 3 of them at the same time. Neji and Hinata loved tagging along as well. When Hiashi turned up to a training session and saw 5 Narutos going through katas, he knew that he would have to step up the training. He started bringing multiple members and dividing up Naruto's studies. When Naruto told him that he received the clone's muscle memory, Hiashi would start each training session with a progressively larger number of shadow clones doing katas. Hiashi and his Ashi became accustomed to walking down rows of clones doing katas and pointing out mistakes. When Naruto shared his mother's whirlwind fist scroll and his father's hummingbird fist scroll with the Hyuga and asked them to help train Naruto in the katas, they both agreed. These training sessions evolved into clones being divided into squads, and each squad had a head clone and would study one taijutsu style. And how Naruto devised the squad leader concept will be covered later. After an hour of katas, clones would break up with their Hyuga instructors and cover aspects other than the shinobi arts. Hitomi was Naruto's champion. She would provide scrolls on political etiquette, everyday how-tos like how to cook, clean and organize. Hisashi was a previous member of Anbu tracking and capture team, he taught Naruto how to track and avoid being tracked. In 1 year, Hiashi was floored by the blonde's progress. It got to the point that Naruto would spar with Neji, Hinata and one of the 2 Hyuga twins at the same time. Neji was infuriated that Naruto could beat him with a single shadow clone. He was a Hyuga for Kami's sake and everyone in the clan said he was a prodigy. Finally, a week before Naruto's 9-year-old progress test, Neji hit his boiling point and blew up on Naruto. "That's it. I am done training with you. I cannot even beat a Kage Bunshin," screamed out a frustrated Neji. This paused the other spars and drew Hisashi over. Naruto felt bad, he knew the advantage he had over Neji. "Neji, don't think about like that. I am not just some kid, I have been trained by Konoha's best for the past 5 years. I am approaching Jonin level. I value your friendship and want to continue training with you." Neji's hair shadowed his face. He couldn't let his frustration show anymore. However, when he looked up into Naruto's deep and genuine azure eyes, the frustration returned in spades. "Naruto, I don't know why you are so special. I know you are strong, but last year we were on an even footing. Now I can't even land a hit on you. You were my rival, but now you are so far ahead I can't even see you anymore. Neji please." "No, Naruto-san. I am done training with you. Next time you see me, I will be stronger. I will beat you. Until that day, I do not wish to continue training with you." Naruto was dejected. He had bonded with Neji so much over the years. The training sessions were his link to Neji because that was their common interest. Through the training, Naruto had learned of Neji's struggles in the Hyuga clan. Neji had opened up to Naruto about his feelings of resentment toward the main house. Just like everyone Naruto's light touched, Neji's resentment had dwindled over the years and turned into a firm resolve to change his fate. Naruto didn't want to lose his friend and rival. The Naruto clone pleaded with Neji. He even offered Neji his training methods and seals, but the stubborn Hyuga boy couldn't be turned. He walked off the training grounds. Naruto's clone didn't want to deal with the pain, so it dispelled. The real Naruto was in the middle of a usual set when he caught the clone's memories. He stopped running and stood there panting looking toward the compound's gates. Hisashi had caught the real Naruto and told him that he would talk to Neji. Hinata had walked over and tried to comfort him. Even the kind and gentle words of Hinata couldn't comfort Naruto. He just ran off and put his efforts into his physical workout that night. Tsunade had to carry a passed out Naruto to his room and hope the boy would be able to move past it. Naruto hasn't seen Neji since then and Neji didn't show up to watch his field test. Wednesdays became Naruto's hardest day. When Danzo showed up to 5 Narutos meditating, he was floored. The boy could use Kage Bunshin at this age. "Oh, yes, I can use this," thought Danzo as the corner of his lips lifted into a sadistic smirk. Danzo knew the boy had fire and wind affinities. Naruto had long since mastered the stage 1 elemental chakra control drills. Naruto had massacred those poor leaves by the hundreds while learning to control his elements. Now, Naruto started his training sessions by massacring leaves by the thousands. Danzo had to have an Anbu come out and replace the bare trees every couple of months. The poor inanimate vertical logs didn't stand a chance against a growing horde of shadow clones that were learning their elements. Danzo started each training session with stage 2 chakra control. The cuts from the out-of-control wind and the burns from fire always left Naruto's side after his first hour of weekly training with Danzo. Remarkably, the boy would heal the wounds in less than an hour and continue with his training. Through use of the clones, Naruto had mastered the Gale Palm, Wind Cutter and Great Breakthrough techniques. The Gale Palm is a C-rank technique where Naruto gathers wind chakra to his hands and slams them together. This creates a blunt force wind that Naruto uses to accelerate his thrown shuriken and kunai. The Great Breakthrough is supposed to be a C-rank technique where the user gathers wind chakra in their lungs and expels it over a wide area. This is a wide area mid-ranged attack that Naruto has been taught to create openings or strengthen his fire jutsu. It should be noted that the damage produced by this technique when Naruto mastered it made Danzo say that it easily reached B rank. The Wind Cutter is a B rank that creates one or multiple blades of air. This is a slicing and lethal technique that can be launched from a distance. The further away the target, the less sharp the air blade is. Currently, Naruto can easily cut through a tree with his Wind Cutter if he creates a single blade. If he creates multiple blades, the technique loses penetration the more he creates. His prowess in wind manipulation brought a twinkle to Danzo's eye. He was so pleased that he swallowed his pride all those years ago and compromised with Hiruzen. Now he was responsible for one of the strongest weapons ever created by Konoha. Over the years, Danzo changed for the better. Naruto used to get a dark and dirty feeling from Danzo's chakra. Now, it felt like a shadow. Not as dirty and tainted as it used to. For Danzo himself, he had caught himself smiling and he even came dangerously close to laughing. Don't get it twisted, Danzo used to laugh, but it was more of a dark chuckle when he brought his opponents to their knees. However, Danzo felt happy when he spent time around Naruto. It was weird to everyone that had known the man over the years. He had even gotten a joke over on Hiruzen last month. The look on his old rival's face when Hiruzen realized Danzo was fucking with him was priceless. Naturally, Danzo informed Torin of his plans ahead of time. So, when Torin captured the Hokage's incredulous face on camera, Danzo took the picture and hung it in his office. Danzo still insisted on keeping the roots of the great tree trimmed though. He would let Hiruzen have the light. Naruto would be the trunk that Danzo planned on linking the roots to the trees that basked in the light. Thursdays with the Uchiha consisted of training by Fugaku. He would often bring Sasuke and even Mikoto to the training sessions. When Mikoto had heard about Naruto's prodigious talent, she had to see her best friend's child for herself. When she witnessed the effect Naruto had on Fugaku, she insisted on being part of Naruto's training. Although she was inactive for many years, since Itachi's birth, she was still a formidable kunoichi in her own right. The two senior Uchiha would train the boys on fire jutsu, it was an Uchiha specialty after all. When they witnessed Naruto's training program with shadow clones, things accelerated. Fugaku had Naruto manipulating flames for his stage 2 training. After Naruto burned through his 5th shirt, he just stopped wearing them to fire training. Naruto's fire manipulation stage 2 training would be expanding the flames of matches until they were the size of fireballs or shrinking a campfire flame down to the size of a pool ball. It was hard training that took Naruto 8 months of the year to truly master. After Naruto's elemental control training came meditation and then fire jutsu training. Naruto absorbed fire jutsu much like he did wind. He found out from the Kyuubi that fire was its element, and since Naruto had been purifying the Kyuubi's chakra since birth, he had an incredibly high affinity to the fire element. Sasuke adopted a similar attitude to Neji. When he saw Naruto speeding past him, he grew frustrated and the training became counterproductive for him. He would still come to the training since it was pretty much the only time that he was guaranteed Fugaku's attention. However, at the earliest opportunity he always got out of sight of the horde of Naruto clones that were practicing. It was just too frustrating to see somebody his age leaving him in the dust. He already had an inferiority complex from Itachi, now Naruto compounded that. Sasuke was just glad that Naruto didn't come to the academy, otherwise he would never get recognition as the best. Naruto's fire jutsu grew from Fugaku's training. The man insisted on complete mastery before Naruto learned another technique. Fugaku defined complete mastery as being able to use the jutsu with 3 or less hand signs. With the great fireball jutsu, it took Naruto a month to get it down to 1 hand sign. It was a basic fire jutsu, so Fugaku insisted on Naruto using the technique with just the tiger hand sign. This was tricky because the great fireball jutsu consisted of inhaling, holding the air in your lungs, and infusing the right amount of fire chakra into the air while in the lungs. Too much and you would burn the lungs, too little, and the flame wouldn't ignite upon release. Naruto had a sore throat that whole month. The next problem of using 1 hand sign came because it made it more difficult for shape manipulation. Sure, just using the tiger hand sign could convert chakra into a fire nature, but Naruto struggled on getting it to hold its form and hit his target. As Naruto's fire mastery improved, so did his control over shape and accuracy. After demonstrating mastery of the Great Fireball, Fugaku taught Naruto the Fire Flower Jutsu. This is a jutsu that can spit out multiple, smaller fireballs. It is a mid-range jutsu that is typically used to trap or guide enemies into an advantageous position. By the end of the year, Naruto had gotten this jutsu down to two hand signs, boar and then tiger. Naruto ended this year of training with the Uchihas giving him a scroll for fire-style flamethrower jutsu. This is the user spitting a continuous stream of fire at the target. The stream can be narrow with intensely high heat or wider with less intense heat. It all depends on how much chakra the user puts into the technique and how the user shapes their lips to guide the chakra. At this time, Fugaku said that was all he could teach Naruto because the rest were clan techniques. Fugaku also had to break off lessons because the Hokage's mission was reaching a critical juncture and he needed to focus on that. A week before Naruto's test, Naruto had bowed low to all Uchihas present and thanked them profusely for their time, training, and for being there for him. The feeling was mutual for all Uchihas except Sasuke. Now before we get to Fridays, a couple of things happened to Naruto that need to be addressed. The first major realization that Naruto has was that processing the memories of multiple shadow clones was dangerous, with a capital D. When it was just a couple of clones training for a couple of hours, it hurt when he dispelled them. However, when Naruto grew into the technique and summoned 30 clones with Tsunade and had them reading medical books and practicing their healing jutsu for 8 hours and he dispelled them all at once, Pain so bad surged through Naruto's head that he passed out immediately and didn't wake up for 6 hours. Tsunade then told Naruto to dispel them one at a time, however, when he dispelled each clone, Naruto had to process the memories. It became seriously annoying when Naruto had to sit around for an hour after training just to understand what his clones did that day. Then an idea came to him that he ran by Tsunade. "Bachin, what if I supercharge a shadow clone and have it make the other clones? Will I still have to deal with this headache?" Tsunade was intrigued, she occasionally used shadow clones, but never in the number Naruto did and never for training. "I don't know, Brad. Well, I am here, why don't you give it a try for this training session?" "Thanks, Bachin. I know I can count on you to keep me alive if this backfires," said Naruto with more than a little trepidation. Tsunade returned his comment with a wry smile and waved her hand, telling him to proceed. That day, Naruto created 3 clone captains and gave each of them about a quarter of his chakra. Each captain created 9 clones and divided up into their usual groups. Naruto completed his daily training and gave instructions to his captains. Each captain had the clones dispel one by one. Since the captains were the ones that created the clones, the memories didn't immediately return to the original Naruto. Instead, the memories went to the captains. Tsunade instructed the captains to do their best to process and synchronize the information. After 10 minutes, one by one the captains nodded to Naruto. The first captain dispelled and Naruto felt the surge of information and fatigue. But he had to guess, it was about half the normal strain from the many clones training all day. He nodded to the next captain and was once again hit. After the final captain dispelled, Naruto was visibly tired, but he felt like he had a better understanding of what the clones learned and he wasn't as tired as usual. From that day forward, Naruto used the clone captain method in his training, which reduced the strain on Naruto and increased his growth rate even further. It should be noted that due to the time spent learning and the collective experiences of his clones, Tsunade deduced that Naruto's mental maturity was accelerated. The boy became noticeably more mature in the way he handled himself. Not only did he reduce his Dadabayo outbursts by 2/3, but he carried himself in a way that was odd for an 8-year-old. Not bad, but odd for sure. Jiraiya only made it back 3 times that year. His hunt for the masked man and Orochimaru kept him occupied outside of the village. Tsunade missed her goofy partner and Naruto wanted Jiraiya's feedback and instruction on seals. He hit a snag at Uzumaki Fuinjutsu level 4. This level covered the introduction to seal layering and applying seals directly on the body. Naruto was a bold and courageous child, but he dares not disregard all the warnings in his scrolls, not to do any body sealing without the supervision of a Fuinjutsu master to proof the work. Unfortunately, Jiraiya was the only such seal master in Konoha. So, after 3 months of access to his family scrolls, Naruto was ecstatic to see Jiraiya return. That was until the old pervert blew Naruto off completely, scooped Tsunade into his arms and didn't leave their room for 2 days. When Jiraiya came down to breakfast on the 3rd day, he completely missed the frustration on Naruto's face. It didn't help that Naruto had a perverted old fox in his head that kept alluding to what Jiraiya and Tsunade were doing. Tsunade was practically Naruto's mom, so the repeated images the fox gave him were less than welcome. So, when a yawning Jiraiya entered the kitchen, he wasn't ready to deal with this version of Naruto. "Oi, Kyofu, what gives? I haven't seen you for 3 months and you blow me off for 2 days," screamed a frustrated blonde. Jiraiya seemed to giggle and get a faraway look in his eyes at the word blow. Yes, all degenerates know where Jiraiya's mind went. "Relax, Gaki. I had 3 months of steam to blow off. Well, Kyofu, I have been stuck at level 4 because you haven't shown up in so long. I need you to test me so I can move on. Alright, Gaki. Calm down. I just woke up. Let me get some breakfast and you can show me what you have learned. Then I will test you. After a tense breakfast, Jiraiya went down to Minato's study with Naruto, where he saw Naruto's seals laid out for him to inspect. It is clear that the kid prepared for this, thought Jiraiya. I guess I know why he was so antsy. He then picked up and inspected Naruto's seals. For his layering test, Naruto labeled a Fire Nature Chakra seal over an enhanced storage seal. Naruto created a clone that took the seal into the training area and held it out in front of him. With one hand sign, Naruto took a deep breath and blew out a fireball. The clone yelled, Kaiten Fuin. The seal activated and sucked the fireball into the seal. The kanji for fire turned from black into red to indicate that the storage seal was full. The clone then handed the paper to Jiraiya, who inspected the seal again. Good work, Gaki. I have done some seals like this in the past. I would say this one gets a pass. You will need to work on a release method for the jutsu, so the seal doesn't spontaneously combust, but it is a passable layered seal. Naruto beamed with pride and moved on to the next seal. After inspecting and testing multiple seals, Jiraiya asked, so what do you need me for, Gaki? All of these are in working order. Naruto tossed a Fuinjutsu level 4 book at him and pointed to the final test and the note that said it should only be done in the presence of a Fuinjutsu level 6 or above master. Ah, okay Gaki. What seal are you going to try? I want a basic storage seal on each wrist. I have prepared the ink by infusing it with my blood and chakra, but I didn't want to do it without you here. Good, Gaki. Go ahead. Naruto created 2 clones that took up brushes and ink. Naruto held out his hands, wrists up. He wanted to ink on storage seals for kunai and shuriken respectively. This would allow his to always be armed and able to respond rapidly to threats. The clones finished drawing the seals and moved back for Jiraiya to inspect. He took a minute looking at each seal and gave a nod of approval. Okay, Gaki. Have your clones activate the seals and then try sealing these kunai into your right wrist. The clones moved forward and did so. Then Naruto sealed the kunai and looked up to Jiraiya. Congratulations, Naruto. You are now a level 4 seal master. It was the access to the level 5 Uzumaki Fuinjutsu that exposed Naruto to gravity and weight seals and deployable barriers. This too had to wait until the next time Jiraiya was in town, but it was the seals that led to the next quantum leap in Naruto's training. Fridays were a new addition to Naruto's training. This day was dedicated solely toward deepening his bond with the Kyuubi and learning from him. Naruto shook his head as he remembered going into his mindscape to visit the Kyuubi 2 weeks after their initial meeting. Flashback, Naruto had trained and asked each of his instructors how they would handle his request for the Kyuubi. Tsunade, Tsubaki and Hiruzen all fell on the hesitant side of the approach. They didn't know how to feel about the Kyuubi or if it could be trusted to honor any promise. Hell, they just learned the Kyuubi was sentient 2 weeks ago. The Hyuga advised treating the Kyuubi with respect. The Ashi picked up on the creature's proud nature through Naruto's recounting of their initial meeting. Danzo said to ask to use its power, no surprise there. Mikoto, Fugaku and Shisui wanted Naruto to apologize on behalf of the Uchiha and encourage caution. Any being as proud and powerful as the Kyuubi needed to be approached with caution. Jiraiya told Naruto to ask it what he could do to earn its cooperation. This approach seemed like the most attractive approach to the fated pair. Thus, after meditating and thinking about how he should approach the Kyuubi, Naruto firmed his resolve and sank into his mindscape. He walked through the hallway noticing the doors that seemed to be growing in number. He had doors now labeled Fire Jutsu, Wind Jutsu, Fuinjutsu and different variations of his Taijutsu. It filled him with pride to see the visual representation of his growth. Finally, he got to the door to the Kyuubi's chamber. He took a deep breath and entered. The auditorium and cage were already lit, as if the Kyuubi had been expecting him. He couldn't help but marvel at the massive fox. Each nail of its claws was still twice his size. The Biju was once again resting its head on its paws, but its eyes were tracking him as he approached the cage. Naruto noticed a new addition to the cage, now that it was properly lit. In the middle of the cage appeared a metal representation of the Shinigami. Intricate ceiling created the image of this god in all his ghastly glory. A gust of air from the Kyuubi's massive snout brought Naruto back to his purpose for being here. He stopped right in front of the massive cage and commenced a conversation. He bowed to the Kyuubi in a formal manner that would make Hitomi proud. Hello again, Kyuubi-sama. I wanted to properly introduce myself before we start our conversation. I am Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze, son of Kushina Uzumaki and Minato Namikaze. Naruto paused here as a low growl emanated from the fox's throat at the name of his father. Naruto swallowed the lump in his throat and continued, I like training to get stronger, all the people that make my life worth living and Raymond. I dislike judgmental people, traitors and those who seek to control others. My goal is to become strong enough to protect my people, become Hokage, and then attempt to bring peace to the elemental nations. I would also like to meet my fellow Jinchuriki and their Biju partners. The Kyuubi listened to the boy ramble on. He was frustrated that this brat was his jailer and that he had the audacity to speak to him without showing fear. As the boy's introduction came to a close, the Kyuubi wasn't exactly pissed off, but there was a great deal of anger tinged with intrigue. That is mighty presumptuous of you, tiny ninja. How can a weak little boy like you hope to accomplish all of that? Is your pride that great that you can't see the folly of your words? And why would you seek out the jailers of my brethren? What could you possibly hope to accomplish by doing so? As the Kyuubi spoke, its chakra flared and put pressure on Naruto. The Kyuubi kept increasing the pressure, trying to get the tiny human to kneel in front of him. To his immense frustration, it wasn't working. Naruto felt the pressure. He also knew that this was a test and that he couldn't show signs of weakness in front of the fox. Kyuubi-sama, I have come to you in an attempt to make our situation better for both of us. Both of us were forced into this arrangement against our will. I want to know what it will take to make this work. You asked if I was presumptuous. Yes, I am. I will never give up, I will never go back on my word. Thanks to you, I found out about my parents. My father asked me to carry on his dream, which happened to match with what I want to do. I will become the Hokage. It is a question of when, not if. From there, I will do my best to bring peace. I do not know how long, but I do know that I will not give up. I will either achieve this peace or die trying. The Kyuubi was watching the boy closely. He was reading into him as he spoke. To his incredulity, this little human believed what he was saying. The firm resolve in his eye never wavered as he spoke. The Kyuubi was impressed by this child, he felt the light and positivity radiating from him. He felt as if just being around the boy was purifying some of his overwhelming hatred for this pathetic race. After the boy's pause, the Kyuubi cut in. Okay, Ninjin, let us stop with the Sama crap. I am your prisoner for the time being. Let's say I believe your words and that you will become Hokage. What do you want with the Jinchuriki and my brethren? Naruto was confused, the pressure had let up quite a bit. The Kyuubi even seemed to acknowledge Naruto's dream. He decided to go with his gut and be honest. Kyuubi, I have heard that Jinchuriki are often ostracized, or worse. I do not wish to see them continue suffering. I do not want those few people in this world that may understand me to suffer unjustly. As for your brethren, am I to presume that the other Biju are your brothers and sisters? At the Kyuubi's nod, Naruto continued, if they are sentient beings like you, then my previous stance stands. I do not approve of enslavement or control. It is wrong. I do not know much more at this time, but I believe that to my core. Are you saying you would attempt to free the Biju? Asked the Kyuubi with a hint of surprise in his voice. Naruto had to pause and think at this. The furrow in his brow indicated how seriously he took the question. If it is possible without killing the Jinchuriki and they agreed not to harm humans, then I think I would. Replied Naruto in earnest. Incredible, thought the Kyuubi, this mere human child doesn't show the fear or prejudice that plagues his race. Could it be the human that Toussaint told us about? Preposterous, we have waited centuries and the one never showed up. This human is just a boy, there is no way his resolve will stand. Despite the Kyuubi's thoughts, this was the first ray of hope that had ever reached the incarnation of hatred. The sage created the Biju to represent different aspects of the world and human nature. The sage imparted the Kyuubi with the task to keep the evil of this world in check. After centuries of dealing with the worst side of humanity, Kyuubi's hatred grew and he began to doubt his father, the sage of six paths. His thoughts were interrupted by Naruto. Kyuubi, if I may ask, aside from getting out of here and killing me, what is it you want to do? Now, it was official, the Kyuubi was floored. In fact, he was so stunned that he had to blink to reset his vision and make sure he wasn't back under some genjutsu. Well, tiny ninja. I have been imprisoned for over a century. If it were possible, I want to stretch my legs. The seals of Mito and your mother had me pinned to an eternal sun and then your mother had me bound securely in chains. This seal is more spacious, but I haven't seen the forest in so long. Naruto blinked, of all the responses he was ready for, that was not one of them. Naruto approached the center of the cage and the symbol of the Shinigami, and the seal appeared in front of him. Naruto put his hand on the seal and focused. It should be possible for him to do this, it is his mind after all. He concentrated hard for nearly 5 minutes. The Kyuubi watched the boy with interest. Suddenly there was a flash of light and everything went white with only a translucent barrier separating the Kyuubi from the boy. Slowly fields of grass emerged below the Kyuubi, then a forest of giant redwood trees appeared in the distance. A giant lake formed next to a massive rock that the Kyuubi could fit comfortably on. Finally, a sun appeared in the middle of a blue sky. The sun radiated the warmth and purity that the Kyuubi felt from this child. The Kyuubi couldn't take it anymore. He was at his wit's end. He forced himself to ask the question that he had been barring from escaping his throat. Why? Why would you do this for me, Ninjin? The massive fox couldn't hide the surprise and bits of awe from entering his tone. The way I see it, we are stuck with each other. Till death do us part, as Tsunade Bachin said. If I have a happier guest sealed in my stomach, I figured it would probably make my life easier as well. The Kyuubi grunted at this. Very well, Ninjin. This is the second favor that I now owe to you. This is a much better prison than I had previously. Now I ask that you state your requests for me. As I have previously stated, I do not enjoy being in debt to others. The Kyuubi watched this tiny meatball. The feeling from earlier grew in his chest. Maybe he could try trusting someone this once. If this ninja gets out of line, then he would flood the seal, kill the human, and then hope he could reform. He really didn't want to do that, dying hurt bad enough. But the process of reforming was far worse and far more painful. Well, Kyuubi. I had prepared one request, but I wasn't ready for a second. However, I know what I want to know. First, what is your name? I presume the Kyuubi is just a title. Second, until I die or find a way to safely remove you, would you consider being my partner and helping me achieve my goals? That did it. The Kyuubi was done. His brain formed of pure chakra short-circuited. The shock of a human child talking to him and being nice was one thing. The child being able to control his mind and shape his prison was something entirely else in and of itself. Now, instead of power, abilities or some other form of narcissism, the child asks for his name. And to be his friend. Kami, if you are messing with I swear I will devour you. Father, if this is not the child you promised, I will give up on humanity forever and devour this world. Very well, Kit. My word is my bond. I will uphold my end of the deal, but there are conditions for this. To us Biju, our names are sacred. You are never to share my name unless I deem the human worthy of knowing it. To all humans, you will refer to me by my title as the Kyuubi no Kitsune. For your second request, you will need to earn the right to be the friend or partner of the great Kyuubi no Kitsune. Do you agree to these conditions? Sick of being surprised, the Kyuubi watched Naruto pass through the translucent barrier and approach him. Confused, no, that's not the right word. Incredulous, no, that is overused. Gobsmacked, yes, that will do. The Kyuubi was gobsmacked. The human just willingly entered his domain. With a mere flick of the tail, he could take over this human boy's mind. So why wouldn't his tail move? Why wouldn't he jaws crush this tiny, fragile little meat sack? It clicked, Kyuubi knew that this child was the only hope he had. Yami, he was the only hope any of his brothers and sisters had. It was at this point that the Kyuubi slid his proverbial chip stack to Kami and went all in. Naruto continued at a slow and controlled pace. The pressure of the chakra coming off the Kyuubi threatened to flatten him with each step he took. His negative emotion sensing let him feel all of the pent-up hatred, disgust and disappointment. As he got nearer, these feelings seemed to intensify. When he got close enough to the Kyuubi, he stopped and held out his hand. Once again, it is nice to meet you. My name is Naruto Uzumaki Namikaze and I will become Hokage and I will do everything in my power to bring peace to the elemental nations. I will do what I can to help you and you siblings find peace. You have my word. And I never go back on my word. Dadabeo. The Kyuubi looked at the boy's hand and with great restraint, he touched one of his nails to the boy's hand. Kit, you are the first human since the sage that I am trusting with my name. My name is Kurama, the Kyuubi no Kitsune. I acknowledge your right to use my name. I do not, however, acknowledge your right to use my power. That right will have to be earned. I will watch you, train you, test you and when you think you are ready, I will grant you the right to challenge me for my power. Deal, Kurama? Said Naruto as he broke out his gigawatt smile for the fox. Could you tell me why you call me Kit though? Kid is what foxes call their kids. At this stage, you are a child and I will refer to you as such. Now Kit, this has gone on long enough. Leave me to rest and explore my new domain. Next Friday, you will return here for training. You got it, Kurama. Man, that is a sweet name. Bye. As Naruto left the mindscape, Kurama was still gobsmacked by that whole meeting. Never, not once in his wildest Tsukiyomi-induced dreams, did he think the meeting would go like that. At every turn, the brat surprised him. As he lay down on his new rock and curled up, he felt a peace that had long since been absent come over him as he closed his eyes. As for Naruto, he came out of the mindscape and passed out right there on the floor of his dad's training room. The sheer magnitude of the Kyuubi's presence and that whole experience hit him at once when he returned to reality. Tsunade would check up on him a bit later and carry him to bed. Flashback end. Naruto refocused as he concluded his stretching. He had removed his gravity and weight seals in preparation for this. Jiraiya had helped Naruto paint them onto his body nearly 6 months ago during one of his random check-ins. Naruto found that as the gravity levels went up, he would feel way heavier and get lightheaded. Tsunade was in charge of monitoring the seals, even though Jiraiya and Naruto were the only ones that knew how to adjust them. She was the one who informed him that increasing the gravity levels would make it harder for blood to circulate through his body. Thus, Naruto had to spend months at each level of gravity seal. In order to maintain his progress rate, Naruto used weight seals to act as intermediary gravity levels. For instance, if he set his overweights to 100 pounds, then at gravity level 3 the weights would weigh nearly 400 pounds. Tsunade was very strict about the gradual increase. She taught Naruto how to channel chakra internally to reinforce his muscles and organs passively to deal with the increased burden. While Naruto's healing and growth factors were amazing, she didn't want to stunt the boy's growth. Returning to present time, Naruto heard a deep chuckle in the back of his mind. "Yeah kid, you sure did surprise me. Never did I think that I would be able to trust a human again," Kurama said earnestly. "So, are you ready for this? If you pass this test and beat this ninja instructor, I will start training you on the first tale of my power." "As ready as I will ever be, Kurama. You know me, I will either pass this test or pass out from exhaustion. Because I will never give up," thought back Naruto. "Very well, kid. Show me how far you have come." Naruto gave a mental fist bump to Kurama as he stood to his full height and shook himself out. He watched the Hokage walk up with an Anbu in a dog mask. "Okay, Naruto-kun. This here is Inu, an Anbu captain. Today you will be fighting against Inu's shadow clone. You have 1 hour to destroy his shadow clone, so fight with the intent to kill." "Hi, Hokage Gigi. I will get it done." The excitement in Naruto's tone earned a chuckle from the aged Hokage. Inu took offense to this. How can a brat that just turned 9 years old think that he could beat an Anbu captain? Sure, Kakashi had heard of the kid's amazing progress. However, genius and prodigy were such overused words in Konoha. It seems one kid every year was given the title. And he was supposed to fight this kid. Yeah, right. Kakashi scoffed internally as he heard the Hokage tell him to get ready. So, he gave a wave and a casual, hi to his Hokage. He created a shadow clone and gave it roughly half of his chakra. That should be more than enough to fight the kid for an hour, thought an amused Kakashi. Naruto went to the center of the field. He started saturating his body with chakra in preparation for the fight. Tsunade's lesson had taught him to use chakra to augment his natural speed and strength. When both fighters were ready at the center of the field, Hiruzen stepped forward. "Naruto-kun, there are no limitations on your end. Show us what you can do." "Kakashi, nothing that will maim or permanently injure the boy." Both fighters replied casually with, "Hi, Hokage-sama," and made the sign of altercation to one another. "Hajime!" shouted Hiruzen as he walked off the field. Both fighters stood there analyzing each other for a good 30 seconds. Naruto was in a ready posture, his muscles tight and coiled. Kakashi's clone was standing completely relaxed, basically telling the boy it didn't take him seriously. The clone then drew a copy of Icha Paradise out of its kunai pouch. This royally ticked Naruto off, so before the clone could even start reading its smut, it was forced to dispel from a chakra-enhanced kick to its head. The audience was stunned. I mean, it's not every day you see a child beat an Anbu captain in under a minute. Most of the esteemed eyes present had seen the boy Kawarimi with the clone's book and lash out with impressive speeds at the dog mask Anbu's head. The clone had dispelled before its book even hit the ground. As all heads turned to Kakashi and gave him an "Are you serious" look, Hiruzen chuckled. Unlike Kakashi, Hiruzen kept his perversion hidden safely in the shadows. Kakashi rubbed the back of his head sheepishly and said, Ma. It's just a shadow clone." Inu-san. I am very familiar with shadow clones. Each of them gets their personality straight from the original. At the most, there are some slight differences in personality. I think that means the clone reading smut in the middle of a fight is all you." Fits of laughter racked the onlookers. Hitomi was full on laughing, and the prim and proper Hiashi could be seen with his back turned to the rest of the group. It was clear from the rhythmic bouncing of his back that he was trying and failing to suppress his laughter. It was that day that most in attendance heard Hiashi Hyuga chuckle for the first time in a decade. Naruto wasn't happy though. He had trained hard for this year, and this clown of an Anbu didn't take him seriously. With a dark and serious tone that didn't fit with the playful mood, Naruto stated, "Anbu-san, if you are not going to take me seriously, please leave and let Hokage-sama find a replacement. I have worked hard over the past year and wish to test myself." The real Kakashi stepped forward this time. "Okay, kid. You have my attention. If you can land a hit on me in the next 30 minutes, you pass this test." Hiruzen and Danzo exchanged a look. They knew this version of Kakashi. This was the Anbu Captain Kakashi that had done Konoha's hardest missions for the past 12 years. Despite Minato's last words, Kakashi could never get over the grief and guilt he felt. That is how he justified hiding in Anbu and never meeting Naruto before now. This time, he took the initiative and launched himself at Naruto. Naruto was caught off guard by his speed, but still managed to block Kakashi's straight punch with an X guard. The force made the child slide back about 10 feet. Kakashi was stunned because he thought that punch would have ended things quickly. Naruto recovered quickly, crossed his fingers into the soon-to-be famous cross-hand sign, and shouted, "Kage Bunshin no Jutsu." 5 clones appeared around Naruto. One clone repeated the hand sign, summoning his squad of 9 shadow clones, and charged in a coordinated fashion at the Anbu. 2 clones jumped to either side of the melee, summoned their clones and took out kunai. The other 2 clones jumped off into either tree line. Naruto himself began to pull out some flash tags in case his clones couldn't get the job done. Kakashi was stunned. He had heard about Naruto being able to use shadow clones, so he wasn't too surprised when the kid summoned 5 of them. Then Kakashi saw how the clones were coordinated and how they each summoned their own clones. Holy shit, this kid is a one-man army. Thought Kakashi as he dodged and countered the frontline clones to jutsu. It was easy enough for him to work his way through the 10 frontline clones. He did notice that each clone was using a slightly different jutsu style than the next. As the smoke from the last clone cleared, Kakashi's eyes widened as he was pinned from either side by a hail of kunai. He executed an emergency kawarimi with a log from the woods nearby. It was there that Kakashi got jumped by another 10 clones and beaten to a pulp. The negative side effect of using an emergency kawarimi is that it leaves the user disoriented for a couple seconds while they regather their bearings. In the middle of his beating, he told the Naruto clones that they won and the test was over. The bruised and beaten dog mask Anbu walked out of the woodline with his hands up in a surrender gesture. "The kid wins," he said and then shunshed away before he could suffer any further embarrassment. The real Naruto walked up to the group of spectators and said, "Well, GG, I didn't really get to show off much, but this means I pass, right?" Hiruzen chuckled and ruffled the boy's hair, "Yes, Naruto-kun. With flying colors, I may add." Danzo complimented the boy on his strategy and looked meaningfully at his friend. Hiruzen gave him a nod that said, "We will talk about this later." In the back of Naruto's mind, Kurama congratulated the boy. "Well done, Kit. Next Friday we will begin working with my chakra. Prepare yourself. My chakra is far denser than yours and it is poisonous to most people. Even with the seal purifying some of it, it will be a lot for your young body to handle. Talk to your Hokage about this. He will likely wish to have someone present." "Alright, thanks Kurama. I can't wait." "How are things inside the seal?" replied Naruto. "They will do for now, Kit. I am excited to see if your idea with shadow clones works. For now, celebrate your victory. I am taking a nap." That night, the Hokage and Tsunade took out all the trainers, Naruto's friends and the clan heads that were following Naruto's progress for dinner at the Akimichi BBQ restaurant. Sadly, Danzo, Neji and Sasuke declined the invite. That didn't stop the group from having 20,000 ryo worth of food and drink though, much to the chagrin of Sarutobi's wallet. Ino and Shikamaru, the 2 Naruto had gotten to closest to, claimed the seats next to him and caught him up on their first year at the academy. The next day in the Hokage office, Naruto's trainers met in the Hokage office. Additionally, a Drago-masked Anbu was standing on Hiruzen's right side. "Okay, we all saw how much Naruto has improved. Sadly, he dealt with Inu before we could get too much out of him, but I have a plan." The Hokage had to stifle a laugh at the memory. This turned into an awkward fit of coughs since he was holding in a drag from his pipe. All in attendance were keenly interested in what awaited the blonde. Tsunade was terrified that it might put Naruto in danger. She knew he was strong, but it terrified her thinking of him becoming a shinobi at 9 years old. Hiruzen continued, "Well, I believe it is still too early to introduce Naruto-kun to the public. After talking with Naruto, it is clear he wants to test his strength and start his shinobi career." Danzo and Dragon came up with what I believe to be a viable option. Since Naruto is clearly past academy level, Naruto will work and train as an honorary Anbu for the next year. Danzo and I will give Naruto-kun missions directly that will test him and benefit Konoha. During the week, he will train with Anbu Team Ro and run missions inside Konoha for me. We will honor his current training setup and only work him 4 days a week. The boy is strong, smart and on his way to becoming a splendid shinobi. I want to use this year to get him experience around the best shinobi Konoha has to offer." Tsunade listened with a concerned expression on her face. "Sensei, he isn't going to be doing any wet work or fighting shinobi, is he?" Everyone was surprised when Danzo answered, "That is not the plan. Not yet at least. I have instructed him on some of the darker aspects of a shinobi's life. However, even I do not want to taint the boy's light with blood just yet." Everyone's surprise came from the genuine tone easily detected in Danzo's voice. A third took the pause to cut in, "We want Naruto to benefit from the experience of being around highly trained shinobi. Team Ro will remain on duty in Konoha doing basic protection missions, patrols around the village and other safer duties. I do plan on Team Ro being dispatched to the Fire Capital in 3 months to meet with the daimyo. It seems Daimyo Sama misses Minato dearly and wants the chance to meet his son." He requested Team Ro for some intelligence gathering that he will need done as a pretense to meet Naruto-kun. So, he is just going to train and work with Anbu here in Konoha for the first year? Asked Tsunade. Her face and posture had relaxed considerably throughout Hiruzen's explanation. Yes, Tsunade-chan. He will have some other tasks, but this sneaky old monkey will just tell you to wait and see what we have planned. I am sure you will get a kick out of it. At that moment, a shudder ran down the spine of every clan head in Konoha. 3 months later in Anbu HQ Lounge, Naruto's introduction to Team Ro, where he met Nico, Cat, Kuma, Bear, Hibi, Snake and Inu, Dog, came the week following his test with Inu. They had welcomed him aboard by abducting him for 2 months of hell in Training Ground 44, dubbed the Forest of Death. Team Ro couldn't get enough of the vibrant new addition to their team. Especially since Naruto never stopped taking pop shots at Inu Taicho. Nico and Hibi hogged as much training time as they could with the recruit. For some reason, Hibi thought it was okay to repeatedly smush Kitsune into her massive chest whenever he did something right. Despite Kitsune's protest and Inu's snickers, she was also the one that spent the most time with Kitsune during the training in her home. Yes, this crazy snake lady dubbed the Forest of Death her home, and she declared the sleepless night in the forest, fighting oversized snakes, bugs and other jungle creatures. As sleepovers kami, Naruto was tired of sleepovers. The quietest member of the team was Kuma, a massive man towering over Kitsune at 6 foot 4 inches. He was the team's frontline fighter and Taijutsu expert. He had a powerful earth affinity that he incorporated into a bone-breaking Taijutsu style. Kitsune loved his time with the gentle giant. Despite getting throttled repeatedly by said gentle giant during training, Naruto learned something new from Kuma for each beatdown he received. The team bonded together over their training of the blonde. It helped that each team member was given a clone captain to command and instruct. The real Naruto would train with one team member each day and then run off into the forest on some mission that Hibi or Inu would give him. Missions like hunting big-ass boars or oversized bears, collecting venom from the giant 8-legged denizens of the forest, scavenging for herbs and spices that could be used to patch his wounds and make dinner tastier. Kitsune swore that almost every mission was him being the sadistic team's grocery boy, although it was great experience. After 2 months, Naruto had grown into his place in the team. He enjoyed the unique camaraderie that being a 9-year-old Anbu brought. In turn, his team enjoyed the break from shitty S-ranked missions that would rob them of sleep for days at a time. They really enjoyed the energy and light that Kitsune brought into the team dynamic. Currently, 3 months into his Anbu career, raucous laughter could be heard throughout the Anbu headquarters. It was all coming from the Anbu lounge where a tiny, blonde Kitsune masked Anbu was recounting his latest conquest. Many veteran Anbu would come up and slap him on the back. Some of the newer recruits would get on their knees and bow to him in mock worship. Hibi was the one laughing the loudest and saying, "That's my Gaki. He did this solo." She was also trying to make a quick buck by selling copies of the pictures. This wouldn't go over so well with the Hyuga clan elders if they ever found out. Over the last week, Operative Kitsune had infiltrated and pranked 3 of the head clans of Konoha, Uchiha, Inuzuka and Hyuga. These were the special missions that Danzo and the Hokage had assigned him. Danzo taught Naruto to observe his targets and strike them where it hurt the most, all from the shadows. Kitsune conducted these missions with his mask off. The Hokage didn't want it to be associated with Anbu, lest Naruto got caught. Naruto's mission directly from the Hokage was to attempt to infiltrate the clan compounds and retrieve an item or information that would be damaging if an enemy shinobi were able to find it. Danzo's addition to the mission, a bonus task if you will, was to prank each clan in the way it would hurt their pride the most and spur them to take action. Pride was a powerful motivator to improve. Danzo and Hiruzen acknowledged that the village's security had gotten quite lax over the past couple of years and they wanted to give the clans a wake-up call. The third clan to receive said wake-up call was the Hyuga clan. Naruto felt guilty about this one. He knew a lot about the Hyuga and didn't want to betray the trust Hiashi, Hisashi, Hitomi and Hinata had shown him. However, Naruto did have a score to settle with the clan elders. Naruto had infiltrated the clan compound, put alarm seals on every wall of the main house. On the floor were paint traps that painted their victim pink. On each door was a flash tag of Naruto's own making. Naruto only targeted the main house for this, as an olive branch to Niji. Kitsune accomplished his main task by acquiring a scroll on the gentle fist. Therefore, it was time to play. When Kitsune activated 40 alarm seals in the Hyuga main house, the whole village heard it. Every member of the main house, sans the previously named members, woke up, jumped out of bed and was painted pink. The seals Naruto placed were located at the bedside of each Hyuga clan member. In their fury, they activated their Byakugan and were treated to 40 flash tags going off throughout the compound. Kitsune then took pictures of the Hyuga elders, painted pink, stumbling around walking into walls. Since their eyes were activated, the blindness lasted for nearly an hour. This was the biggest blow to Hyuga pride in clan history. Kitsune left the gentle fist scroll, a sorry letter and a full report on how he infiltrated the Hyuga compound on the Hokage's desk. An hour and a half later, an enraged Hiashi roared into the Hokage's office, trailed by a bemused Hisashi. Both had an inkling of who had done this, but no proof. When they entered the Hokage's office and saw their clan scroll sitting on his desk, they confirmed their suspicions. "Oh, Hiashi. I was expecting you. I suppose it is time to tell you that I have commissioned a security expert to test our clan security systems." It would seem that said operative made quite a fuss at the Hyuga compound. Chuckled out a highly amused Hiruzen Sarutobi. Slight giggles could be heard from the corners where the Hokage's Anbu detail was hidden. "Okage-sama, are you telling me that you approved of the actions taken against my clan? Now Hiashi Dono, no real harm was done to your clan. The report submitted to me was quite thorough. Would you care to review it?" said Hiruzen as he handed the report and pictures to the Hyuga clan head. Hayashi saw the pictures and was initially filled with rage. Then he read the report and was forced to add some humility into his posture. By then end, Hayashi had to chew on and swallow multiple servings of humble pie. Hisashi was reading over his brother's shoulder. His face began to redden and his cheeks bulged as he struggled to keep in the laughter that he wanted to let out. Hisashi couldn't confirm it, not that he would want to if he could, but he had a significant inkling to give Naruto a gift the next time he trained him. In Hiashi's hands was a veritable goldmine of blackmail on all the clan elders that made Hiashi's life so damn difficult. In fact, Hiashi noticed that all of the pictures were Hyuga elders. Most of the main and branch houses had been spared. A smirk crept upon Hiashi's face. With the power of humiliation, the operative gave Hiashi the edge he needed to take back control of the Hyuga elders. Hiruzen watched the emotions flash across Hiashi's face. He knew this was a large bittersweet pill for him to swallow. When he saw the smirk, he resumed the conversation. "Hiashi, these security tests will continue until I see marked improvement. It is safe to assume that similar consequences will be attached to further failures. I am sure your elders will want to prevent such a thing from happening again. Oh, and do keep them from trying to ascertain the identity of my operative. I doubt they would be able to, but I really don't feel like dealing with that headache." Hiashi and Hisashi bowed to the Hokage and said in strong voices, "Hi, Hokage-sama. It will be done." Hiruzen chuckled to himself, and the Anbu let out the laughter they had been holding in. Between the chicken incident at the Uchiha police precinct, the Inyazuka dogs humping everything that moved for 3 days straight, and now the pink Hyuga, Kitsune brought so much joy to the Anbu Corps and village as a whole. Dragon appeared beside the Hokage. The Hokage could see the smirk through Dragon's mask by the way it lifted slightly around his chin. "Okage-sama, Kitsune is pure gold. My Corps loves the kid. Not just Team Ro, but everyone. Morale has been up since he returned from his camping trip. Over the past 2 weeks, mission success rate increased by 15%. If this continues, I will have to insist on making Naruto a full-time member of the Corps." Hiruzen sighed, "Dragon, you know I want Naruto to have whatever semblance of a childhood that is left for him. I understand where you are coming from, though. For the remainder of the year, we will stick to the plan. If Kitsune wishes to don the mask full-time after this year, I will talk about it with Jiraiya and Tsunade. They will have the final say." "As you wish, Hokage-sama." Dragon replied and then disappeared. Throughout the year, Naruto took breaks from Anbu life by visiting his friends at their clan compounds. Each clan member was sworn to secrecy if they were able to figure out Naruto's lineage. The clan heads were responsible for enforcing this. Nearly 6 months into Naruto's first year in Anbu, his friends and their parents were noticing the absence of their friend. After Inoichi and Ino brought their concerns to the Hokage, Hiruzen ordered Naruto to make the rounds and visit his friends. This weekend, Naruto had set up a picnic for him and his friends. He used a promise of a lower severity prank to the Akimichi to negotiate with Chaozu for some top-shelf Akimichi food. The giant of a man rapidly accepted the offer. Naruto's first 2 infiltrations into the Akimichi compound had left his wife and clan in a rather foul mood. For the life of him, he couldn't figure out how Naruto had swapped all their best cuts of meat with broccoli and Brussels sprouts. Chaoji cried that night when his father told him that the whole clan had to eat a vegetarian meal for one night in order to get their precious meat back. Naruto met his friends in the Hokage's private training ground for the picnic. Hiruzen set this up so prying eyes wouldn't ask about why some blonde orphan was friends with all the future clan heirs. Naruto spent the day deflecting questions on where he has been and why he wasn't attending the academy. He didn't appreciate having to lie to his friends, but he understood that it was necessary. The whole picnic was going perfectly well until Ino grabbed him by the arm and demanded they go on a walk. Naruto listened to her rant about how the whole academy thought Sasuke was so special and that she just wanted him to be there with her. She ranted about a girl named Sakura who was obsessed with Sasuke and about Sasuke's haughty attitude. She didn't understand why Sasuke had closed up so much over the past year. After a 20-minute rant from Ino that made Naruto nod his head and say yeah, a whole bunch to convince her he was listening, Ino began to question Naruto. Naruto told Ino that he would go on trips with Jiraiya around Fire Country. He said Jiraiya would train him while they traveled and all that. The cover story barely held up to Ino's scrutiny, but she relented so long as Naruto would visit more often. When the two returned to the group, Kiba's crude comments and not so subtle innuendos made the pair blush. Nobody noticed Hinata's hands ball into fists or the calculating gaze of Shikamaru. Choji just offered the two some beef jerky and helped the group move past it. Naruto really did enjoy getting to catch up with his friends and promised each of them that he would make a greater effort to stop by their compounds on some weekends. End of probationary period for Operative Kitsune. A year went by in a flash for Naruto. He had very little free time. Even though he only worked actively in Anbu 4 days a week, he still wanted to train outside of the Anbu Corps. Since his week was occupied, Naruto would often send shadow clone captains to various clan heads on the weekends. This let him keep in touch with his friends, although they never knew the clone captains weren't the original Naruto. It took quite some time for Naruto's friends to realize they were all meeting with him individually at the same time over the weekend. In fact, it took them the whole second year at the academy for them to come to this realization. This didn't really bother anyone too much, except Ino. Ino missed her Ruto, the affectionate name she gave to Naruto. He made her feel so much better. He would listen to her, tend the flower shop with her and help her with her problems. It was thanks to Naruto that Ino gave up on the diet fad after her first year at the academy. He told her, why diet when you can train instead? He said it with such certainty and conviction that Ino decided to listen. Now, in her second year, she was keeping up with Hinata and spars and the physical aspects of shinobi life. Inoichi was ever grateful to Naruto for helping break Ino out of a behavior that would have left her helpless when she got out of the academy. Alas, when Ino found out that she had been dealing with a Naruto clone, she insisted that the real Naruto come next week and take her out to dinner, as an apology of course. Naruto showed up not knowing that Ino was treating this as a date, so when he acted casually, she bonked him on the head and made him treat her like a proper lady. Naruto took the cue and grabbed Ino's hand. He took her out to their favorite flower field where they caught up on things. Ino, being the gossip she is, couldn't help but talk about Konoha's devil prankster. It was the talk of the town. Once a week, a clan would get pranked. There was no pattern to the pranks, no rhythm that could be found whatsoever. Security remained high, 24/7 365. Yet, the prankster kept claiming victims. He was recently cited by a Hyuga that claimed he was a boy, 4 feet 9 in. He moved faster than the Byakugan could track and he kept disappearing from view, even with the Dijutsu activated. This latest news was shared among all clans. There was a joint mission to catch this prankster and even a reward posted for 100,000 ryo. This sighting was the only clue that they had after suffering for an entire year. Of course, everyone that knew Naruto knew the most likely culprit, but they never had any proof and the Hokage just kept handing them the after-action reports. Those in the know kept it to themselves. There was a massive betting pool among a majority of the ninja population. You get to choose the day the prankster would get caught for 100 ryo. This betting pool exceeded the reward posted for catching the prankster. The current pot was up to $420,969 ryo. When the Hokage said that the pranks would be ceasing next week, he announced to the ninja populace that if the prankster were not caught by October 10th, then the prankster would collect the pot. It was the last week to catch the prankster, so a public challenge was issued to him. Hit us with your best shot, you will not get away from us this time. For gossip like Ino, this was pure gold. She would talk to Naruto and speculate on who it could be. She was so lost in her thoughts that she missed the sparkle in Naruto's eyes and the slight swelling of his chest. The Kyuubi chuckled deep inside Naruto's mind, to think this whole village is on high alert and you're out here having a date with Blondie. It's putting your genius to work at its finest. Kurama was immensely proud of his container. The boy had worked so hard and never wavered. His dedication to his trade earned the fox's admiration. The resolve he demonstrated through his training made the fox think that he would allow the boy a second tail soon. Before that though, the boy would have to take a life. Kurama needed the boy to crush this last barrier and prayed to Kami that it wouldn't break him. Thanks Kyu. I appreciate the compliment. I took after my sensei after all. Thought back Naruto, although it was clear he was distracted by the blonde beauty. Alright, Kit. Enjoy your date. Tonight, we do the prep work. Hi, replied an amused Naruto. He came back to reality seeing Ino inches in front of his face. Geez, Ruto. You spaced out on me there. Were you even listening? Challenged a pouty blonde. Yes, Ino, I heard you. I tell you what, next week I will tell you who the devil is. What? You know the devil. How? Shouted Ino. After looking around to make sure they weren't be overheard, Naruto answered, he is a friend of mine. I will not tell you more than that. If you keep pushing me for the answer, I won't tell you who he is at all. Ino pouted and adopted her puppy dog eyes after seeing it wasn't going to work, she said, fine, Ruto. But that's a promise. They went out to Ichiraku's and enjoyed the rest of their date. It ended with Naruto walking her home and getting a peck on the cheek. With his face flush, Naruto walked home a happy boy. Subchapter. Prank Day. The whole Anbu Corps was sworn to secrecy when it came to the devil prankster's identity. Hell, everyone in the know was sworn to secrecy. However, they were allowed to attempt to capture him should they catch him in the act. For the final week of the declared prank war, everyone was on high alert. It was a busy morning in Konoha. The markets were coming to life, vendors and civilians alike waiting to see the show. The anticipation was building. The prankster had 3 days left to strike. Just after 8 AM, the chaos began. It started with a roar from a Kyuubi-enhanced Naruto at the entrance of the Forest of Death. Using the Kyuubi's chakra, Naruto let out a bestial roar that projected throughout Konoha. Clone Squad 1 had prepared siren tags that were placed around the village. Everybody was covering their ears and trying to catch sight of the prankster. Henge Naruto clones were dispersed around Konoha to keep Naruto aware of the battlefield. The Henge clone captains would create and disperse shadow clones to pass on the knowledge of sentries and troop movements. Squads of Chunin and Genin were running around to each siren, trying to catch the devil prankster and earn the reward and fame. As the siren tags died out, a massive firework that shot out blue flames went off above Konoha's gates. The flames took the likeness of the head of Kyuubi before dispersing. It took all the chakra of a shadow clone captain to make this happen. The people were confused and slightly terrified when they saw the likeness of a fox. Not enough to make them panic, but enough to set them on edge. This display earned the response of 3 Anbu teams and 2 squads of Jonin, all according to plan. During the distraction, Naruto was painting the Hokage monument. He had developed stealth seals and created a plethora of tags that he distributed to his clone captains. These tags imitated Jiraiya's invisibility jutsu, it just didn't work as well when within 10 feet of a ninja. He could walk right past a civilian with the seal active, but most Jonin would sense him about 10 feet away. The good sensor could pick him up about 25 feet away. Thank Kami, good sensors are rare, thought Naruto. He painted a joint over the first Hokage's mouth with an air bubble that read, do you want to feel happy, too? The second Hokage got a Hitlerian mustache. Don't ask Naruto why, it just fit. The third got a pipe drawn on him with smoke coming out of it. He had an air bubble answering the first saying, you bet I do. The fourth got a toad and the Kyuubi drawn on his cheeks. Kyuubi made a stink in his mind about this but he could see the humor. Once Naruto was done painting, Naruto released the banner saying, catch me if you can. That covered the hair of each Hokage. Then Naruto created 10 shadow clones and stood on top of the Hokage monument. One of the clones jumped of the Hokage monument screaming until it got halfway down. Then it glowed a brilliant blue and exploded after saying, clone explosion jutsu. The explosion sounded like a M80 going off and it produced a brilliant blue chakra light. The sound drew the village's attention to the Hokage monument. After a couple seconds, the clones on the end activated the fire style, flamethrower techniques, and blew the torrent of flames into the air. The clones in the middle blew a fireball after fireball. The real Naruto took a deep breath and executed a great breakthrough on all of the fire that was racing into the air. The result was a literal firestorm hovering over the village. All jaws dropped. The Hokage, Jiraiya and Tsunade knew something big was coming. They never expected the display they got from this blonde knucklehead. Hell, Hiruzen would be bordering on chakra exhaustion if he did what Naruto just did. As the fire cleared, Naruto's art could be seen by the whole village. The black blur could be seen racing away from the Hokage monument out toward the training grounds. Every single ninja in Konoha gave chase. The clone captain darted away from the Hokage mountain, making sure that everyone could catch a glimpse of him. He shunshed to the nearest training ground and created 20 low chakra clones. Their orders were to dispel on sight if sighted. The main purpose was to lose and distract the ninja tracking this particular clone captain. The captain had no doubt he would have to deal with a horde of Hyuga, Inuzuka and Aburame. His job was to lead them into the Forest of Death. As the clone captain made his way to the Forest of Death, he felt 18 of the 20 clones dispel. He had a 30's head start that would do just fine. The clone captain heard shouting behind him and knew immediately who it was. Might Guy, the green beast of Konoha and his student Rock Lee, who was still in the academy. Yosh. Lee-kun, we must catch this prankster. If we do not catch him, we will do 1000 push-ups. If we cannot, the clone turned off his auditory senses. He couldn't be made to deal with all that. He knew that Might Guy was fast, but it was clear he was pacing his student. The clone made its final dash into training ground 44 and hopped the fence. It dashed to one of the campsites the Anbu had used during orientation. Then, with a smile on its face for a job well done, it dispelled. Naruto, the real Naruto, got the memories of his last clone captain and smiled. He lay back on the couch in his father's study and closed his eyes. Ah, the sweet taste of victory. Tsunade woke Naruto up from his nap 2 hours later. You sure you didn't go a bit overboard, brat? Naruto sat up and rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. Haha, maybe Bachin. I used most of my chakra making all those clones and seals. How is the village? It is nuts out there, brat. Ninjas are running around every which way still hoping they could get the reward. Hebe said that the pot for catching you today was 150,000 ryo. They are getting desperate out there. Naruto chuckled. Well Bachin, your next trip to the liquor store is on me. I knew I loved you, brat. Well done. Watch out for your Gigi though, he didn't like everyone knowing that he mixes that medicinal herb into his pipe. Haha, oops. You think you could get some of the good stuff from the hospital for me, as an apology to Gigi? Sure thing, brat. Get some sleep. With that Tsunade walked upstairs and waited for Naruto's payday. October 10th, Naruto's 10th birthday. Naruto reported in with Team Ro to the Hokage's office. Naruto recognized the smell that lingered in the office and smirked beneath his mask. Did you get my present from Bachin, Gigi? Yes, I did, Kitsune. It was much appreciated. You may inform Naruto-kun that we are square. Hiruzen took another deep drag in response to Naruto's nod and thought, ah, the perks of being Hokage. Kitsune chimed back, Gigi, I have one more prank, are you ready for it? Hiruzen gave Naruto a hesitant nod. Naruto created 5 shadow clones that went over and started doing the paperwork for the Hokage. Repetitive, resounding thuds echoed around the room as Hiruzen dropped his pipe and started beating his head on his desk. Team Ro was shaking in silent fits of laughter. Inutaichu wasn't so quiet about it though. Inutaichu had really come back to life over the year. He felt like he was finally honoring his sensei's last wish, and this helped bring him a sense of closure. He was still eccentric as hell and an open perv, but he started showing interest in things again. Naruto lovingly considered Inutaichu a work in progress. After Hiruzen stopped berating himself, he looked at Team Ro with a swollen and red forehead. Team Ro, your activity and missions over the past year reflect well upon Kitsune's progress. I am still hesitant to send him into the field. However, each of his trainers and even Tsunade gave their approval. If this next mission is completed successfully, Kitsune will be a full-fledged member of Anbu and part of Team Ro. All I looked down upon Kitsune, who stood proudly with his shoulders back. Hi, Hokage-sama. Name it and it will be done. The boy's confident answer filled Hiruzen with pride. Naruto is becoming a fine young man and a great shinobi, he thought. Okay, Team Ro, you are to go to Tonika village. A group of bandits has been harassing the local population and recently women have started disappearing. Hiruzen confirmed his resolve and his face hardened. This is a recovery and kill mission. The locals do not have the resources to imprison bandits. Kitsune, you are tasked with completing this mission solo. Team Ro will be there to observe. They will step in if there is any threat to the lives of known civilians or yourself. If they need to interfere, we will delay your entry into Anbu. Am I clear? Hi, Hokage-sama, said a resolute Kitsune as Team Ro flickered out of the Hokage's office. Be safe, Naruto-kun. Show me you are strong enough to bear this burden. Hiruzen needed a couple dabs of the good stuff to calm him nerves down. Tonika town bandit extermination. Team Ro was out of the village 10 minutes after receiving orders from the Hokage. Everyone was worried for their blonde teammate, especially Hebe and Nico. They knew very well the weight of taking a life. Kitsune had yet to experience that. Honestly, what 10-year-old should be forced to take a life? Anyway, the team bounded through the treetops toward Tonika town. Kurama had been listening and knew this was an important test for the kid. The test was simple, could he take a life and maintain his purity? Or would he give in to his baser instincts and bloodlust? Breaking from his thoughts, Kurama decided to speak up. Hey kid. You going to be able to go through with this? What? Oh yeah. I will be fine, Kurama. I knew it was coming sooner or later. Do you have any advice for me? Replied Naruto through a clearly muddled mind. Listen, kid. This world is harsh. These bandits are evil. Didn't you tell me you dislike anything that would remove control from a sentient being? Well, that's what these bandits are doing to those women and villagers. Kyuubi trailed off with that, wanting to see how the boy would take it. Surprisingly, Kurama's words struck a chord with Naruto. An immediate improvement to the weather inside the mindscape let Kurama know that the boy had found his resolve. Just outside of Tonika town, Team Ro halted. Naruto created 6 clone captains and assigned them search sectors. Then, Naruto hinged to look like a civilian and approached his point of contact, the town mayor. The mayor noticed a new unknown civilian approaching his office and was surprised when the civilian walked right in and applied some seal to his office door. Sir, I am a shinobi from the Hidden Leaf answering your mission request. Is there any additional information you can provide? They took 3 more girls last night. The girls are not even teenagers for Kami's sake. Replied a destitute mayor. Don't worry, mayor. Be ready to receive the girls tonight. My team has found the bandit camp, I will recover the women and then destroy the bandit camp. Thank you, Shinobi-san. We will be ready for them. Earlier, Clone Team 4 had found the bandit camp and one of its members dispelled letting the others know. Now, unbeknownst to the bandits, 120 eyes were watching every move in the camp. The clones found the main tent and noticed a big and burly bandit leader. The clones also noted the tent next to that where the women and children were being kept. With his enhanced eyesight and hearing from Kurama, the clones were having a hard time not charging in right there. The despicable thoughts of the bandits, the sound of slapping and crying all heaped fuel on the fire that was Naruto's resolve. It soon dispelled his clones, then ran over his plan with Team Ro and Kurama. Now, it was time to execute. Naruto created 10 clone captains. 2 clone captains were responsible for retrieval of the women. That would mean he could grab 20 women and Shunshin out of the camp. He only knew of 12 missing women, so that should be more than enough. Clone squads 3 to 10 would surround the bandit camp. Once the women are out, it would be time to light it up. Naruto joined Team 1 and 2 clone captains. They killed the sentries on the south side of the camp with kunai. It wasn't hard, they were immobile targets. Naruto and the clone captains hid the bodies and hinged into their most recent victims. Then they walked toward the tent that held the women captives. The sounds coming from inside the tent were not pretty. I abhor rape, so I will not elaborate or illustrate this scene. Naruto felt his anger synchronize with Kurama's. The old fox might be a pervert, but it believes rape to be a crime more severe than murder. The 3 Naruto broke their hinge, dashed silently into the tent. The real Naruto slapped a privacy seal on the tent so no sounds could escape. Then Naruto yanked the 5 bandits that were forcing themselves on the women off and dragged them to the other side of the tent where he and his clones removed their heads with their wakizashis. The girls screamed for a second, but Naruto was able to hush them. I am a ninja from Konoha. I have been sent here to help you. Is this everyone? He asked when they all calmed down. No, my friend was taken by the big one not even 20 minutes ago. Cried out a frantic girl in her early teens. All the girls were in rough shape. Dirt covered their knees and hands, and their clothing was ripped. Okay, I will go get her. Each of you hold on to one of my clones and they are going to get you out of here. He said as he made the familiar cross shape. 11 clones popped out and grabbed a hold of the women and girls. Naruto removed the privacy seal, and then the clones used Shunshin to move the women to the casualty collection point. Naruto crept through the shadows and heard what was happening inside. He could only sense the big man and a girl. He slapped another privacy seal on the tent and snuck in. What he saw made his eyes glow red and turn into feral slits. Kurama's chakra poured out of him and held near his skin in a basic cloak. Naruto's fingernails elongated and his whisker marks darkened. The big bandit felt the ominous shift in the air and turned around. With his pants still down and covered in the girl's blood, the bandit's mini-me was standing up for a few to see. Naruto blurred forward and separated the twigs and berries from the bandit. The man screamed loudly and fell to his knees. Naruto ripped out the man's tongue and cut off his hands. He zipped behind the man and severed his Achilles tendon so he couldn't move. He didn't finish him off though, he knew the clone's barrage would do the job. Instead, he forcibly calmed himself and approached the crying girl. She reeled back from him, not trusting him. He held up his hands. It's okay. Your mayor sent me, and I am trying to get you out of here. My team has the camp surrounded and is going to destroy it soon. We need to go. With her consent, he covered her in his Anbu cloak. He was too tiny to scoop her bridal style, so he had her climb on his back. It took her a while to trust him, but she finally climbed on his back and wrapped her legs around his waist. He could feel her shaking from the traumatic experience. He left the privacy seal on the tent as he left. Upon exiting the tent he shunshed to the casualty collection point and flared his chakra. That was the signal for the clone barrage. From both sides of the bandit encampment, clone teams launched great fireballs enhanced by wind jutsu. The clones kept the barrage up for 3 minutes. The firestorm that ensued made sure there were no survivors. Just flaming carcasses, melted sword and ashes of belongings. After their job was done, the clones dispelled. The backlash and visuals of the bandits burning alive hit Kitsune. The whole mission hit Kitsune all at once. He fell onto his knees and puked his guts out. He held it together and didn't freeze. However, as soon as the adrenaline left him, it all came into focus. He had just killed 152 men. It was all him. His eyes went out of focus and he looked off into the woods. The last girl he saved came around to his front, looked him in the eyes, and then pulled him into a hug. 2 words pulled Naruto back from the brink. Thank you. You're welcome. He replied in a whisper. He gathered himself together and noticed the bruising and light bleeding that marred the girl's gentle features. He used some basic healing jutsu on the girl. The fresh marks on her face and abdomen faded and she smiled at him. She thanked him again and ran back to the other girls. Bibi and Nico came over and rubbed his back. You did good, Gaki. I know it's hard, killing should always be hard. It means you're still human. Intoned Hebe in a gentle and knowing tone. We are here for you, Kitsune-kun, said Nico, backing up Hebe. Kurama had watched his container. He thought he might lose it there when he went into the last tent, but he brought it under control to help that poor girl. The kid did well, as always, he exceeded my expectations. And he even honored me by incinerating them. Ah, nothing like burning the evil out of this world. It is what the sage made me for. Kurama felt proud when reflecting on his container's actions. He reaches out to his container. Kid, you did well. You didn't hesitate, you didn't lose yourself in the bloodlust, you controlled my power. Most importantly, look at those 12 girls. You saved them and gave them another chance at life. You did that, kid. This means you also passed my test to work on controlling the second tail. I will leave you with that, good night kid. Thanks Caillou, I appreciate it. Get some rest, I will finish up here. Even Naruto's thoughts carried a weak tone with them. Later, in the Hokage's office, Naruto gave the Hokage his mission report. Hiruzen winced when he heard the estimated number of bandits. 150 of them and he doesn't have a scratch on him, this kid is unbelievable. Thought Hiruzen. I guess this means I will have to make him a full Anbu for a while. I still plan on graduating him with the other clan children. That will be a great year for him to make his public introduction. Okay then, I just have to make sure he survives 2 years of Anbu, easy, right? Hiruzen was completely lost in his train of thought. Kitsune has watched the Hokage's eyes go blank there for a bit. He knew his Gigi didn't want him working in Anbu for real. But I want to protect. I am strong enough, so he needs to let me protect my home. Thought Naruto. Team Ro looked on patiently as their Hokage and youngest member lost themselves in thought. Finally, Inu made a coughing sound and brought both of them back to the office. Oh, yes. Kitsune-kun. You are now an official member of Team Ro. You may collect your mission reward and your reward money at the bank. I told them it was pay for an extended mission, do enjoy. You have the next 3 days off and then Team Ro will commence working as a full-time Anbu squad again. Hi, Hokage-sama. Replied Team Ro confirming their orders.